The Weed Rangers, written by James Pullen. Chapter 1. The Chronic Call. 1. The Wastelands of Green. The city of Ganja Grove wasn't very green anymore. Not the natural kind, anyway. Gray concrete and rusted steel dominated the skyline, choked by the smog factory of the evil overgrower. 5 teenagers sat in the dusty, abandoned grow house just outside the industrial district. There was Caleb, the confident, slightly hot-headed leader, kicking a loose brick. Maya sat quietly, sketching complex circuit diagrams. Across from her, Finn was attempting and failing to juggle 3 rusty wrenches. Jasmine leaned against a wall, adjusting the pink bandana around her neck, her eyes sharp and observant. Finally, Xavier, the quietest, was flexing his arms, testing the durability of a shredded old punching bag. "Another day, another layer of gray dust," muttered Caleb, running his hand along a cracked windowpane. "If the overgrower keeps up this industrial garbage, there won't be a single patch of green left in this city." A flicker of movement caught Maya's attention. "Look, a sprout." Nestled deep in a crack of the concrete floor, a tiny, vibrant green sprout fought for life. As the 5 teens gathered around it, the ground beneath them began to rumble violently. "Earthquake," Finn gulped. Suddenly, the floor gave way, and the 5 teenagers tumbled down into darkness, landing harmlessly but dramatically on a soft pile of hemp canvas far below. 2. Master Hempy and the Chronics of Power. The cavern they found themselves in was illuminated by a soft, glowing, deep purple light. The air was clean, earthy, and smelled faintly of pine and citrus. Ancient vines wrapped around crystalline structures, and in the center stood a figure unlike any they had ever seen. Master Hempy, a short, bearded man with skin that seemed to shimmer with trichomes, holding a staff carved from petrified wood. "Welcome, young sprouts," Master Hempy said, his voice a gentle, woody whisper. "You are the 5 chosen ones." Caleb immediately stepped forward. "Chosen for what? To fall down a hole?" Master Hempy chuckled, pointing his staff toward a pedestal. Resting there were 5 glowing, herb-filled coins, the Chronics of Power. "The Overgrower and his minions, the pesky bugs, seek to poison the world and destroy the very root of its vital energy. Only the pure power of the cannabis sativa and indica realms can stop him. These coins are imbued with the spirits of the strongest strains, and they choose you." Master Hempy tapped the coins, and each one floated toward a different teen. Caleb received the fiery red coin, pulsing with electric energy. "The spirit of sativa surge," Hempy declared. "Energy, focus, and leadership." Finn received the deep blue coin, radiating tranquility. "The spirit of indica flow," he explained. "Patience, strategy, and calm power." Maya received the yellow coin, a perfect blend of the two. "The spirit of hybrid haze," Hempy stated. "Adaptability, balance, and technological mastery." Jasmine received the bright pink coin, smelling faintly sweet and pungent. "The spirit of skunk bloom," the master announced. "Stealth, style, and vital essence." Xavier received the charcoal black coin, heavy and grounding. "The spirit of Kush force," Hempy finished. "Unmatched strength and resilience." "You must learn to channel this power," Master Hempy warned them. "The pesky bugs are already above ground, infecting the industrial sector." 3. It's marijuana time. Suddenly, a screech echoed from above, and a shower of toxic, neon-green slime dripped down from the opening. The cavern shook. "The Overgrower's advance guard," Master Hempy cried. "They have found the entrance. Go, Weed Rangers, and face your destiny." Caleb looked at the glowing coin in his hand, then at his friends. He saw fear, but also excitement, a shared need to protect what little green was left. "All right, team," Caleb yelled, holding his coin high. "Let's put this power to the test." The 5 teens lined up, raising their unique coins. The colors flared, and the power surged through the ancient tunnels. "Sativa surge," shouted Caleb. "Indica flow," yelled Finn. "Hybrid haze," shouted Maya. "Skunk bloom," cried Jasmine. "Kush force," roared Xavier. In unison, they brought their coins together and screamed the transforming phrase, "It's marijuana time." A brilliant, swirling, smoke-like vortex of red, blue, yellow, Pink and black light engulfed them. When the light cleared, they were gone. In their place stood 5 armored heroes, complete with personalized helmets, colored gauntlets, and shining shields. The Red Weed Ranger, Caleb, was already leaping toward the opening. "Let's show those pesky bugs what happens when you mess with Mother Nature's finest," he shouted, followed by the rest of the team as they blasted back up into the smoggy streets of Ganja Grove for their very first battle. 4. The 5 Rangers, back in their normal clothes, stealthily approached the perimeter of the smog factory. The air here was thick, making them cough. The factory was a colossal, ugly structure of dripping pipes and churning vents, designed to poison the atmosphere. "Maya, you got a read on the entry points?" Caleb asked, crouching behind a barricade of rusted oil drums. Maya pulled out a small, specialized tablet. Her hybrid haze intellect allowed her to instantly process complex schematics. The main ventilation shaft is the only way in without triggering seismic alarms. But it's guarded by a perimeter patrol and sealed with a high-grade lock. "Perimeter patrol, my specialty," Jasmine Skunk Bloom whispered, already adjusting her stance. "Finn, can your indica flow help mask us?" Finn nodded, his face calm. He focused his deep blue Chronix coin. A barely visible, shimmering wave of tranquility spread out from him. The air around them grew still, muffling their sounds. "It's a temporary effect, but it suppresses movement, noise and vibrations," he explained. "Good. Xavier, you and I create a distraction on the south side," Caleb ordered. "Jasmine, you use the silence to take out the guards and secure the shaft. Maya, wait here to unlock it. Then we rendezvous inside. It's marijuana time," the 3 field rangers shouted softly, transforming into their armored forms. Caleb and Xavier raced toward the south wall. Caleb, Red Ranger, immediately drew his sativa sword and began generating sparks, hitting exposed metal pipes to create loud, erratic noises. Xavier, Black Ranger, used his Kush axe to smash several support barrels, sending a cascade of industrial junk tumbling down. "Pesky bugs, activate," screeched a voice from the shadows. A hulking figure stepped out. Dr. Hydro Slick, one of the Overgrower's most loyal and vain henchmen. He wore a crisp, white lab coat, stained neon green, and carried a menacing pressure hose connected to a tank on his back. "The Weed Rangers, huh? More like the Weed Whackers," Hydro Slick sneered, aiming his hose. "Time for a cleanup." A thick torrent of noxious green foam erupted from the hose, aimed right at Caleb. 5. Caleb rolled back, avoiding the spray. "Xavier, take the bug patrol. I'll handle Mr. Clean." Xavier, already surrounded by several pesky drones, was a whirlwind of dark energy and devastating force. Every swing of his Kush axe sent a shockwave, turning the insects into puffs of purple vapor. Meanwhile, Jasmine, under the veil of Finn's sensory-dulling indica flow, moved with impossible grace. She was practically invisible, scaling the factory wall silently. She used the bloom bow not for long-range shots, but for short, precise strikes. She knocked out the 2 human guards at the main ventilation shaft with the blunt end of her bow, moving their unconscious bodies into the shadows. "Shaft secure, Maya," Jasmine radioed. "Go time." Maya, using her Chronix of Power coin as a key, instantly morphed. She ran toward the secured area, drawing her haze blasters. They weren't just weapons. The hybrid haze power made them precision tools. She aimed a blaster at the massive lock on the shaft door. Instead of firing an explosive blast, she fired a focused beam of heat, subtly warping the delicate tumblers inside the mechanism. With a soft click, the lock disengaged. Inside the factory, Caleb was struggling. Dr. Hydro Slick's foam weapon was formidable, sticking to everything and quickly hardening into a rock-solid barrier. Caleb was forced onto the defensive, narrowly dodging sprays that would have encased him. "You're too jumpy, Red Ranger. Try to relax," Hydro Slick taunted, advancing. Just as Hydro Slick prepared a massive, final blast, a blue shield slammed into his legs from the side. Thud. Finn, Blue Ranger, had arrived, having maintained his indica flow until the last moment. "You should try taking your own advice, Doctor," Finn said, calmly raising his shield. The distraction was enough. Caleb, fueled by the sativa surge, leapt onto a nearby pipe, using the height advantage to launch himself at the doctor. He struck Hydro Slick's backpack, not with his sword, but with his armored fist. The pressure tank cracked. Hydro Slick screamed as his own toxic foam exploded, covering him head to toe. He was instantly entombed in a statue of neon green industrial waste. "He's neutralized," Caleb said, catching his breath. Maya and Jasmine joined them as Xavier finished dispatching the last of the pesky bugs. The team stood victorious, but the noxious air was getting worse. "The Queen's hive is deeper inside," Maya said, consulting the internal layout on her wrist communicator. "We need to move before this whole factory gets sealed off." The 5 Weed Rangers stood ready, the path ahead shrouded in toxic smog. 6. The team pressed deeper into the smog factory, the noxious air outside finally giving way to a new, unsettling smell, sweet rot and ammonia. They followed Maya's readings, which indicated the hive was below them, requiring them to descend through a series of increasingly hazardous structural components. They found themselves in a narrow junction room with 3 doors. "Hive is directly below," Maya, Yellow Ranger, confirmed, pointing to a grate in the floor. "But the floor access is locked and electrified. We have to take the long way around." They chose a large, steel door marked FLUX. Inside, the temperature immediately spiked. They were in a furnace area, dominated by a massive, twisting pipe that led downward, a vertical smokestack that was still active. "We have to climb the outside of that pipe," Caleb, Red Ranger, decided, morphing instantly. "The heat is too high, and the handholds are sparse. Everyone needs to activate their strain's maximum defensive output." Finn, Blue Ranger, projected his indica flow outward, creating a slight, cooling aura around the group, counteracting the furnace heat. Xavier, Black Ranger, and Caleb led the climb, their strength allowing them to grip the blistering metal. Jasmine, Pink Ranger, moved with perfect efficiency, using her skunk bloom agility to scale the pipe's intricate network of joints and valves. Halfway down, a section of the pipe below them burst, venting a cloud of scorching steam. "Trap," Caleb yelled. Maya, Yellow Ranger, reacted instantly. She fired her haze blasters at a cooling manifold above the rupture. The sudden, localized temperature drop caused the manifold to shatter, releasing a stream of non-toxic coolant that doused the ruptured section, buying them a precious minute to slip past the hazard. The steam quickly turned into a thick, obscuring fog, and they continued their descent into the unknown depths. 7. They landed softly on a sub-level floor, the fog quickly dissipating. This level was completely different, slick, organic, and pulsating with a sickly yellow-green light. The hive was close. "This is it," whispered Finn, his indica shield already deployed. Ahead of them, guarding a massive, chitinous archway that pulsed like a monstrous heart, stood a figure far more powerful than Hydro Slick. He was tall, gaunt, and clad in glossy, black armor adorned with thorns. He carried a wicked-looking, whip-like vine that crackled with dark energy. "Welcome, little weeds," he hissed, his voice grating and dry. "I am Baron Bloomkiller, and I am here to ensure you are permanently wilted." "A baron," Caleb scoffed, drawing his sativa sword. "You're just another overgrown gardener. I am the Overgrower's master horticulturist of decay." Bloomkiller snapped, and he cracked his thorny whip. The tip slammed into the ground, sending a shockwave of noxious air that nearly knocked the Rangers off their feet. "Finn, protect Maya. Jasmine, distract him," Caleb commanded, charging forward with Xavier. 8. The battle against Baron Bloomkiller was ferocious. The Baron was faster than he looked, easily parrying Caleb's lightning-quick sativa strikes with his thorny whip. "Your energy is too frenetic, Red Ranger," Bloomkiller sneered, trapping Caleb's sativa sword in a cluster of vines that instantly materialized from the Baron's glove. Xavier, Black Ranger, roared, leaping into the fray and bringing his massive Kush axe down. Bloomkiller sidestepped the heavy blow, but the resulting shockwave splintered the organic floor beneath them. "Your power is brute, Black Ranger, but I command the rot," Bloomkiller countered, sending the whip lashing out, wrapping around Xavier's legs and sending an electrical shock through his armor. Xavier staggered, his Kush force armor barely holding against the combined impact of the physical and electric attack. Meanwhile, Jasmine, Pink Ranger, darted around the Baron, firing a rapid succession of precision shots from her bloom bow. The pink energy arrows forced Bloomkiller to constantly shift his focus, preventing him from landing a decisive blow. Maya, we need a way to disrupt his concentration. Jasmine radioed. Maya, Yellow Ranger, focused behind Finn's shield, was analyzing the organic chamber. The light. His armor is absorbing and amplifying the hive's own bioluminescence. She aimed her haze blasters not at the Baron, but at the pulsing, organic wall behind him. She fired a concentrated blast of disorienting, bright yellow mist. The hybrid haze-induced confusion didn't harm Bloomkiller physically, but it momentarily overloaded the light absorption mechanism in his armor. What is this sickly cloud? Bloomkiller roared, stumbling as the light in his armor flickered. 9. With Bloomkiller momentarily disoriented, Caleb seized the opportunity. He yanked his Sativa sword free, charging it with pure, focused energy. Sativa surge, full power. He unleashed a powerful overhead strike. Bloomkiller recovered just in time to block with his whip, but the force of the blow sent him skidding back and shattering a crystalline protrusion in the wall. He's too powerful, and we don't have time. Finn stated calmly, his blue light pulsating steadily. Maya, what's our primary target's weakness? The Queen's lair is producing crystallized Meg-A-pest poison, Maya reported. It's a dense, energy-rich substance. If we can introduce a counter-agent, Master Hempy gave me a spore vial, into that crystallized matrix, it might destabilize the entire hive from the core. So we need to get past him and into that archway, Caleb summarized. No, said Jasmine, aiming her bow. We need to get under him. Jasmine fired an arrow at the Baron's feet. It wasn't meant to wound, but to create a distraction. As Bloomkiller turned to snarl at the Pink Ranger, Xavier used the opening. With a superhuman burst of Kush force, he slammed his Kush axe into the floor, not vertically, but horizontally, ripping open a section of the slick, organic ground. Go, 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 Xavier yelled. 10. The 4 Rangers leapt through the gap Xavier created, tumbling into a narrow, sticky tunnel. Xavier was the last to drop, pulling the heavy section of the floor over the opening just before Bloomkiller could follow. They scrambled through the tunnel, which finally spat them out into a massive, cavernous chamber. This was the heart of the hive. The chamber was overwhelming. Thousands of pesky bugs, drones, flyers, and crawling larvae swarmed the walls and floor, all tending to the central figure, the pesky bug queen. She was grotesque, a truly enormous insectoid monarch, immobile and fused to the organic throne. Her body was constantly secreting the yellow-green, crystallized poison, which workers diligently collected. There she is, Caleb shouted, but the sheer numbers of the swarm were terrifying. Team Attack Formation Beta, Maya called, reverting to the plan they had drilled. Finn immediately deployed a massive indica shield, anchoring himself and Maya at a secure spot, protecting the technical expert. Caleb and Xavier charged into the swarm, clearing a path. Caleb's Sativa sword was a focused blade of light, slicing through the thickest bugs, while Xavier's Kush axe created wide, sweeping arcs of destruction. 11. Jasmine, instead of fighting directly, used the swarm as cover. Her skunk bloom stealth was absolute in the chaos. She bounced off the walls, drawing fire and confusing the massive number of bugs, creating pockets of weakness that Caleb and Xavier exploited. But the sheer volume of the enemy was draining their energy fast. For every bug they destroyed, 2 more took its place. The closer they got to the queen, the more aggressive the swarm became. We can't fight through them all, Caleb yelled, parrying 3 drones simultaneously. Suddenly, the queen's massive antennae twitched, and a low, pulsing, high-pitched thrum echoed through the chamber. The sound didn't hurt their armor, but it hit their minds, a wave of pure, negative energy laced with despair and doubt. You will fail. You are too small. The decay is complete. The Rangers staggered, their confidence wavering. The Sativa surge flickered in Caleb's mind, telling him to retreat. The indica flow in Finn felt clogged, turning calm into paralysis. It's a psychic attack, Maya gasped, clutching her helmet. She's draining our will. 12. The one Ranger who was untouched by the psychic attack was Xavier. His Kush force was a power of pure, earthy grounding, the opposite of the Queen's floating despair. He roared, shaking off the negative energy. You don't touch my friends. He bellowed, swinging his cush axe in a wide arc, creating a path to the queen's throne. Xavier, you're the only one unaffected, Caleb yelled, shaking his head clear. Keep her busy. Maya, the spore vial. Maya pulled a small, glass vial containing a cluster of purple and gold spores from a pouch. This was Master Hempy's detox agent, a concentrated extract of pure sativa energy and indica calm. I need to inject this into the crystallization node, that large cluster of poison crystals on her back, to reverse the Meg-A pest creation process, Maya explained, her voice tight with focus. But I need a clean shot and enough time to attach the vial. Finn, recovering his composure, took a deep breath. His indica flow reasserted itself, creating a small, intensely focused pocket of mental clarity around Maya, shielding her from the queen's despair. I'll hold the field, Finn said. Go, Maya, we're on defense now. 13. Xavier was engaged in a desperate, one-sided duel with the queen's physical defenses. Her thick, chitinous legs and mandibles were massive, slow, but devastating. He used his cush axe to deflect the blows, moving with a surprising, grounded speed that came from his immense power. Caleb and Jasmine, fueled by the dwindling remnants of their power, fought side by side, protecting Maya and Finn from the encroaching swarm. Caleb's sativa sword was a blur of energy, while Jasmine's arrows, now charged with a concentrated pink essence, exploded upon impact, scattering the bugs. Maya, protected by Finn's calm aura, raced toward the queen. She saw the crystallization node, a dense, pulsing cluster of neon green poison crystals on the queen's back. It was heavily guarded by smaller, venomous-looking bug lieutenants. She raised her haze blasters and fired a sustained torrent of yellow disorientation mist, creating a literal fog of war around the node. The guards went rigid, momentarily paralyzed by the sensory overload. Maya seized the chance. She leapt onto the queen's massive back, her hybrid haze-powered boots gripping the slick shell. 14. With the queen thrashing under Xavier's onslaught and the guard lieutenants immobilized, Maya found the main entry point to the crystallization node. It was a small vent at the base of the crystal cluster. She quickly jammed the spore vial into the vent, triggering the release mechanism. The purple and gold spores immediately vaporized, flooding the internal matrix of the Meg-A pest poison. A high-pitched, agonizing screech tore through the chamber. The entire hive began to shake violently. The neon green crystals on the queen's back began to rapidly change color, shifting from toxic yellow-green to a soft, healthy, vibrant emerald. It's working, Maya shouted. The antidote is neutralizing the poison matrix. The queen, momentarily freed from the poison's influence, let out a final, mournful, non-toxic cry before going limp. The psychic despair vanished instantly. The pesky bugs, suddenly devoid of their guiding will and energized poison, began to drop inertly to the floor. The vast swarm collapsed into a giant, silent pile of useless husks. 15. The hive is neutralized, Caleb yelled, sheathing his sword as his sativa surge armor shimmered and disappeared. He and the others rushed to Xavier, who, drained but victorious, was panting heavily over the motionless queen. We have to go. The factory is destabilizing, Finn said, pointing to the cracking organic archway. The neutralization of the queen's poison had caused a chain reaction. The overgrower's toxic energy, which held this sub-level together, was now collapsing. Loud crashes echoed from above as the factory began to tear itself apart. Back to the main shaft. We need to find Master Hempy's escape route, Maya shouted, leading the way. They raced back through the organic tunnel, but as they reached the junction room, the main shaft entrance had already collapsed, sealed by tons of twisted metal. We're trapped, Jasmine cried, looking desperately at the rubble. No, we're not, Caleb declared, looking up. We're taking the roof off. He raised his Chronix of Power coin. There's only one way out of here, team. We call for the Chrono Zord. The other rangers raised their coins, preparing for the most powerful call yet. 16. Boldar roared, fueled by pure, malicious decay energy, and swung his gigantic club in a devastating overhead arc aimed directly at the chronic Megazord's head. The force of the wind alone was enough to crack the surrounding concrete. Now, Caleb, Red Ranger, screamed, his sativa surge focus pushing the Megazord's systems to their limit. Maya, Yellow Ranger, controlling the hybrid mantis arm, executed the final targeting sequence. The THC beam saber, a blade of concentrated, shimmering green energy, shot out to meet the club. Instead of blocking the crushing weight, Caleb used the blade's superior speed and sharpness. Eftzok. The saber sliced through the handle of Boldar's club, vaporizing the weapon into superheated steam. The momentum carried the THC beam saber right through Boldar's gold-plated shoulder armor. Boldar staggered back, clutching his sparking, smoking shoulder. He let out a piercing howl of pain and frustration. The blow hadn't destroyed him, but it had shattered his confidence and severely damaged his plating. He turned, roaring, and retreated back toward Weeder Rapella's bong ship. 17. On the ship's balcony, Weeder Rapella shrieked, her voice echoing with rage. "You insolent sprouts! You think your overgrown tin can defeat my finest warrior?" She raised her staff, a twisted thing of bone and moss, and pointed it at the retreating Boldar. A purple and green energy beam, pure, chaotic growth magic, enveloped the defeated lieutenant. "Boldar, grow, my little weed. Grow and crush them." Boldar was consumed by the expanding light. His gold armor warped and melted, his body swelling instantly. The transformation was agonizing and massive. He grew to 4 times the size of the chronic Megazord, his skin turning a sickly, mottled purple and his muscles bulging with destructive force. The residual gold plating reformed into razor-sharp spikes. "What in the name of Whedon is that?" Finn, Blue Ranger, gasped, struggling to keep the Megazord stable against the wave of energy. "He's been super-sized," Caleb shouted, staring up at the titanic, enraged giant Boldar. 18. The chronic Megazord looked minuscule next to the enraged, towering Boldar. "Size doesn't matter when you have precision," Maya, Yellow Ranger, stated, trying to sound confident. "Finn, anchor us. Xavier, be ready for defense." Boldar brought his massive, spiked fist down in a hammer blow. The Megazord jumped back, but the ground where it stood exploded into dust and rock. The shockwave rattled the entire cockpit. Finn, Blue Ranger, piloting the Indica Rhino legs, slammed the Megazord's feet deep into the asphalt. "Locked down. He's strong, but slow and sloppy," Finn reported, channeling the Indica flow to stabilize their center of mass. Boldar tried a sweeping kick. Xavier, Black Ranger, piloting the Kush Mastodon shoulder armor, activated his Kush force barrier and charged into the kick, pushing back against the force with sheer, grounded resilience. The Megazord didn't break, but it groaned under the stress. "We need a strategy that hits his core, not just his armor," Caleb declared, dodging a blast of putrid green energy from the giant villain. 19. The Rangers disengaged, jumping clear to create space. Maya instantly began calculating Boldar's energy signature. His power is focused entirely on his left arm, the one Weeda zapped. Maya realized, it's overloaded with raw, unstable growth energy. If we can puncture it, the energy will neutralize itself. "Puncture it? With what?" Jasmine, Pink Ranger, questioned. "My skunk panther agility can get us there, but his skin is too thick." "We need a chronic combo," Caleb yelled. "Maya, can you reverse the polarity of the hybrid mantis blasters? Turn them from cutting tools to drilling tools." "Yes, but they won't last long." "Good enough. Finn, focus all the Indica flow you can spare into a single point on his arm. Xavier, cover the Megazord's back. Jasmine, take us in fast." The plan was daring. Use Finn's calm energy to create a vulnerable spot, Maya's technical power to drill the opening, and Caleb's speed to deliver the final blow. 20. Jasmine, Pink Ranger, executed the maneuver. The chronic Megazord, propelled by the skunk panther's speed, became a blur, darting between Boldar's clumsy attacks. She closed the distance in seconds. "Finn, now," Caleb ordered. Finn, Blue Ranger, unleashed a concentrated burst of Indica flow, not as a shield, but as a mental sedative. The tranquil blue energy hit giant Boldar's left arm, causing the raw growth power inside to momentarily hesitate and ripple, creating a small, visible point of weakness. "Maya, drill." Maya's hybrid mantis arms locked onto the spot and fired their specialized beams. The beams transformed into high-speed, vibrating plasma drills, burning through the thick skin and reaching the overloaded energy core inside Boldar's arm. Boldar screamed as the internal energy destabilized. Finishing sequence. Sativa surge. Full strike. Caleb roared. The THC beam saber reappeared, shorter and denser. Caleb plunged the concentrated green energy deep into the drilled opening. The Megazord pulled the saber out just as the arm exploded in a non-lethal, purple light show. Boldar shrank instantly, reverting to his original size, and fell unconscious onto the ground. 21. The chronic Megazord stood victorious over the neutralized villain. The cockpit filled with cheers. Boldar defeated. We did it, Finn shouted, relief washing over him. On the Bong ship, Weeda Rapella slammed her staff onto the deck. This is not over, Weed Rangers. I shall conjure a monster that will make you weep for your precious little green city. You'll wish you never heard the word chronic. With a final, furious cackle, the Bong ship ascended rapidly and vanished back into the swirling purple vortex, leaving Ganja Grove in a momentary, confused silence. The Megazord powered down, the Zords separating and reverting to the 5 individual Rangers, exhausted but triumphant. They had saved the city, but the damage was extensive, and they knew the threat was far from gone. 22. A soft, pulsing, green light enveloped the 5 demorphed Rangers. They felt a strange, tingling sensation as they were instantly transported away from the damaged streets. They reappeared in the shimmering, psychedelic crystal chamber, the base of operations, where they had first met their mentor. Standing inside his glass tube, radiating a benign, ethereal glow, was Whedon, the ancient being of light. The chamber's walls thrummed with peaceful energy. Well done, my young sprouts, Whedon's voice echoed gently. You faced great evil and found strength in your unity. You have neutralized the pesky bug hive and repelled the wrath of Weeda Rapella. Caleb stumbled forward, removing his helmet. Master Whedon, that was intense. Is the Overgrower still out there? The Overgrower is merely a puppet, a farmer of filth for Weeda Rapella, Whedon explained. The true threat is the decay he spreads. But you, the Weed Rangers, are the guardians of the Chronic's Nexus, the wellspring of all natural, positive energy on this planet. 23. Whedon continued, his light flaring gently. Your Zords, the mighty Chronic Megazord, draw their power from this nexus. They are the concentrated essence of the Sativa and Indica realms, fused by the adaptable power of the hybrid. You must train, and learn to master your individual strains. He pointed a beam of light toward Finn. Finn, your Indica flow is more than just stability, it is the essence of patience. It can calm any foe, and anchor any storm, physical or mental. He shifted the light to Jasmine. Jasmine, your skunk bloom gives you not just stealth, but the power of vital essence. You can detect corruption and plant seeds of renewal. To Xavier, Xavier, your Kush force is raw earth energy. You are the immovable object, the foundation of the team. To Maya, Maya, your hybrid haze is the intelligence of nature. You adapt, you analyze, you find the solution where none seems to exist. And finally, to Caleb, Caleb, your Sativa surge is the spark of action and courage. But you must learn that true leadership is sometimes knowing when to slow down, not just when to charge. 24. In the days that followed, the Rangers remained at the Nexus, training under Whedon's watchful guidance. They practiced complex chronic combos, learning to layer their powers. Finn worked on extending his Indica flow to create mental shields for the entire team. Jasmine refined her bloom bow skills, learning to fire tracking spores that healed small areas of pollution. One afternoon, while the others were sparring, Maya was on the console, tracking global pollution spikes. I still can't believe we're Power Rangers based on this, Finn said quietly to Xavier, watching Caleb execute a perfect backflip. Xavier, ever the man of few words, simply nodded, flexing his immense bicep. It's better than breathing smog. Jasmine sashayed past, tossing her pink bandana into the air and catching it mid-spin. We've got the best look, the best mentor, and the most relaxing power source. I'd say we won the lottery. Caleb overheard them and grinned, his energy bubbling over. Whedon says we're just getting started. The Overgrower controls the pollution flow across the city. We took out one factory, but there are dozens. 25. The tranquility of the Chronic's nexus was shattered by a violent, blaring red alert on the central console. Wheater Rapella is back, and she is not alone. Whedon's voice boomed, urgency replacing his calm tone. On the main screen, a live satellite feed showed a new threat in Ganja Grove's Central Park district. A monstrous creature, easily the size of the original Boldar, was emerging from the ground. It was a massive, sentient weed eater, the Dread Trimmer. Its metallic body was lined with razor-sharp blades, and it was systematically annihilating every green thing it encountered, leaving scorched earth in its wake. Worse, its massive treads were kicking up dark, swirling dust that was contaminating the air at a catastrophic rate. The Dread Trimmer is designed for rapid, total floral annihilation, Maya cried, pulling up the creature's schematics. It's built to erase nature. Caleb gripped his coin, his leadership instinct overriding his shock. We're done with training. We need to stop that thing before it turns the entire city into a desert. It's time for the Megazord, but we need more power. Whedon, is there anything else? Whedon's light pulsed violently. Yes, Red Ranger. There is one more Zord, hidden deep beneath the Earth's soil. It is the Zord of ultimate defense and strength. The CBD Brontosaur. 26. The CBD Brontosaur. Caleb, Red Ranger, repeated, his eyes wide. Where is it? It is housed in the deepest layer of the Chronic's nexus, the bedrock of the planet's defensive power. Whedon's light pulsed with intensity. It requires a pilot who understands true patience and immovable defense. It requires the power of the Indica flow. Whedon turned his ethereal gaze to Finn, Blue Ranger. Finn, you must go. The others will hold the line against the Dread Trimmer, but only you can awaken the Brontosaur. Finn looked down at his Chronics of Power coin, its blue glow steady and calm. He had always focused on defense and stability. This was his mission. I'm ready, Master Whedon, Finn said, morphing instantly into the Blue Ranger. Whedon opened a shimmering, moss-covered portal in the floor of the Nexus. Go, Blue Ranger. You will be guided by the deepest currents of the Earth. But hurry, the Dread Trimmer is annihilating the Park District. Finn leapt through the portal without hesitation, vanishing into a swirling blue vortex. Caleb, Maya, Jasmine, and Xavier turned, knowing they had to rely on the smaller Zords to buy Finn time. 27. In Ganja Grove's Central Park, the Dread Trimmer was a catastrophic sight. Its immense rotating blades shredded trees and benches, and its chemical exhaust turned the soil into scorched, sterile dust. We can't let it reach the city center. Caleb, Red Ranger, shouted. Call the Zords. Individual combat. It's marijuana time. The 4 remaining Rangers yelled, transforming and summoning their Zords. The THC Rex, red, the Hybrid Mantis, yellow, the Skunk Panther, pink, and the Kush Mastodon, black, materialized, 4 powerful behemoths ready for battle. Maya, try to find a weakness in its treads or exhaust ports. Caleb ordered, maneuvering the THC Rex around the terrifying spinning blades of the Dread Trimmer. The Dread Trimmer was designed for one purpose, to destroy life. It had no head or limbs, just a massive, armored chassis and a rotating array of chrome blades. 28. The battle was desperate. Xavier, Black Ranger, piloting the Kush Mastodon, slammed his Zord into the Dread Trimmer's side, trying to disrupt its course. The Kush force was powerful, but the Dread Trimmer's armor was thick, and the impact nearly caused the giant machine to briefly shudder before a hidden spike shot out, tearing a scratch across the Mastodon's hull. Jasmine, Pink Ranger, in the agile Skunk Panther, darted around the machine's base, firing concentrated blasts from her Zord's cannons. The explosions scorched the armor, but failed to penetrate the core. It's covered in industrial-grade blight steel. Maya, Yellow Ranger, reported from the Hybrid Mantis cockpit. My blasters can't get through the armor. We have to hit the propulsion. Caleb, Red Ranger, realized they couldn't win this fight with offensive power alone. We need to combine enough to slow it down. Partial Chrono Form. The Hybrid Warrior. 29. The THC Rex, Hybrid Mantis, and Skunk Panther Zords quickly combined. The Hybrid Warrior Megazord formed, using the Rex's body, the Mantis's arms, and the Panther's lightning speed. The Hybrid Warrior moved with fluid, blinding speed, far faster than the lumbering Dread Trimmer. Caleb used the combined agility to get the Megazord onto the Dread Trimmer's back. Xavier, use the Mastodon to keep hitting the front. Distract it. Xavier, in the lone Kush Mastodon, charged the front of the Dread Trimmer, sacrificing his Zord's pristine condition to shield the team. Caleb, from the Hybrid Warrior's cockpit, aimed the Hybrid Mantis arms at the machine's main exhaust port. Maya, give me everything you have. Full haze. Maya fired a stream of superheated, concentrated hybrid energy into the exhaust. The armor briefly warped, and the Dread Trimmer sputtered, its movement slowing down just enough to cease its destruction of the park for a few precious seconds. 30. Deep beneath the earth, Finn, Blue Ranger, was traversing a subterranean forest of petrified roots and glowing moss. His Blue Ranger armor guided him through the complex tunnels. The deeper he went, the calmer the air became, saturated with deep, earthy energy. He finally arrived in a colossal, hollowed-out cavern. In the center, half buried in pure, ancient soil, lay a Zord that dwarfed the THC Rex. It was the CBD Brontosaur, a magnificent, long-necked dinosaur Zord, its body appearing to be carved from jade and infused with soft, protective white light. The cockpit hatch was sealed by a solid block of crystal that radiated an intense sense of peace. To pilot me, you must achieve perfect stillness, a deep, resonant voice echoed in Finn's mind. You must accept the protective power of CBD. Finn sat cross-legged on the dirt floor, closed his eyes, and channeled his indica flow. He pushed away the panic of the battle above, the fear of the Dread Trimmer, and the urgency of the mission. He focused only on the deep, immovable calm of the earth. The crystal block began to crackle and dissolve, responding not to force, but to absolute tranquility. 31. Back in the park, the Hybrid Warrior Megazord was taking heavy damage. The Dread Trimmer had recovered, and a blast of corrosive exhaust gas forced the Megazord to jump clear, leaving a large, blackened patch on its armor. We can't hold out much longer. Jasmine, Pink Ranger, yelled. It's too heavily armored for our offensive Zords. Suddenly, a massive shockwave hit the Dread Trimmer from below. The ground ruptured, and an immense, jade-green neck and head erupted from the earth right beside the monster. It was the CBD Brontosaur. Did you miss me? Finn's voice, calm and steady, crackled over the comms. The CBD Brontosaur was a fortress. Its very presence seemed to soothe the agitated air, and its body radiated a shimmering, impenetrable field of pure white, defensive energy. That's the CBD Brontosaur's power, Whedon's voice resonated through the comms. Ultimate defense and non-aggressive protection. It will absorb the attack. 32. Caleb immediately gave the order. Full Megazord formation. We need to combine everything. Finn, take point. The four Zords, the Hybrid Warrior comprising red, pink, and yellow, and the Kush Mastodon black disengaged and raced towards the newly emerged Brontosaur. The CBD Brontosaur, Blue Ranger, took the main chest and body position, replacing the THC Rex's torso. The THC Rex became the powerful head and helmet. The Kush Mastodon, Black, became the heavy, grounded shoulder armor and hip support. The Hybrid Mantis and Skunk Panther formed the arms and legs. With an incredible display of light and power, the final, fully armed machine stood revealed, the Chronic Defense Megazord. This new configuration was slower, heavier, but vastly more powerful and almost completely shielded by the CBD Brontosaur's armor, radiating an aura of total, immovable defense. 33. The Dread Trimmer charged, sensing the shift in energy. It slammed its entire spinning blade array against the chest of the Chronic Defense Megazord. K.R.A. Doom. The sound was deafening, but the Megazord didn't budge an inch. The white, CBD energy field deflected the grinding blades as if they were made of plastic. The Dread Trimmer's own blades began to spark and dull against the superior CBD plating. Incredible, Caleb, Red Ranger, cheered. The Brontosaur's power is absorbing the kinetic energy. Finn's voice was utterly calm in the cockpit. The CBD Brontosaur is defense without counterattack. It only exists to protect. We are safe, but now we must find a way to stop it non-violently. Non-violently, Xavier, Black Ranger, grumbled. But I wanted to use the Kush cannon. Whedon's spores neutralized the Queen, Maya, Yellow Ranger, reminded them. The Dread Trimmer is a machine, but it's fueled by toxic energy. We need to starve it. 34. Maya quickly analyzed the dread trimmer's power source. The machine runs on pure, unprocessed pollution, industrial sludge and toxic waste. It has massive intake vents on its lower chassis. If we can flood those vents with a counter-agent, we can clog its systems. A counter-agent, Caleb mused. Master Hempy's detox spores are all gone. Wait, I have an idea. Jasmine Pink Ranger chimed in. My skunk bloom energy is all about vital essence and renewal. I've been training to fire large healing spore bombs. They're super concentrated fertilizer and growth hormones, designed to jumpstart dead soil. Fertilizer against toxic sludge, Caleb grinned. It's the perfect antitoxin. Jasmine, prepare the bomb. Finn, keep that shield up. The Chronic Defense Megazord continued to withstand the Dread Trimmer's assault, allowing the Pink Ranger to charge her weapon system in the background. 35. Jasmine charged the Skunk Panther arm, forming a massive, pulsating pink sphere of regenerative energy, the Bloom Bomb. Ready, team, Jasmine shouted. I need one clean shot at those intake vents. Caleb took control of the main body. Finn, focus the CBD shield so it holds the trimmer in place. Xavier, give us a final push. Finn concentrated the CBD Brontosaur's energy, causing the white shield to intensify, locking the Dread Trimmer in a vice-like grip. The machine shuddered, unable to move its treads. Xavier fired a localized burst of Kush force at the ground around the trimmer, momentarily trapping its movement with earth and rock. The Dread Trimmer was immobilized. Jasmine fired the Bloom Bomb. The pink sphere slammed directly into the intake vents, exploding in a shower of vibrant, pure, concentrated growth essence. The effect was instantaneous and dramatic. The industrial sludge inside the Dread Trimmer's systems reacted violently with the hyper-fertilizer. Gears jammed, circuits fused, and the machine seized up. Within seconds, the Dread Trimmer ground to a halt, smoking and inert, leaving behind a large patch of park that, though damaged, was already starting to sprout tiny, defiant green weeds. 36. The celebration was short-lived. As the sun set, the sky above Ganja Grove turned a sickly, pulsating purple. A massive shadow fell over the city. Wida Rapella's Bong ship, now flanked by two smaller, equally repulsive vessels, descended slowly. They weren't just ships. They were airborne factories, dropping corrosive, fast-growing metallic vines that began to choke the infrastructure of the city. Full-scale invasion, Caleb Red Ranger yelled from the Chronic's Nexus, watching the scene on the main monitor. She's trying to plant corruption across the entire city. The vines are latching onto power grids and water mains, Maya Yellow Ranger reported frantically. They'll drain the city's resources in hours. Whedon's voice resonated with grim urgency. You must intercept the main vessels and cut off the invasion at the source. The Chronic Defense Megazord is your only hope, but even its defense may not be enough against Wheda's full power. 37. It's marijuana time. The 5 Rangers materialized on the tallest skyscraper in Ganja Grove, the Chronic Defense Megazord forming immediately in the air below them, ready for aerial combat. The 2 flanking vessels, the Pestilence Pods, opened their hatches, releasing a legion of armored, flying pesty bugs known as sky grubs. The sky filled with the buzzing, toxic horde. Jasmine, Xavier, focus on the sky grubs. Keep them off the main ship. Caleb commanded. Maya, lock on the pods, primary vine launchers. Jasmine Pink Ranger, piloting the agile Skunk Panther components, made the Megazord spin, firing bloom bombs that detonated in clouds of cleansing pink light, taking out dozens of sky grubs at once. Xavier Black Ranger used the Kush Mastodon components to anchor the Megazord, firing concussive energy blasts that deterred the insects from getting too close. 38. Maya Yellow Ranger focused the hybrid Mantis arms, using her precision blasters to target the vine launchers on the Pestilence Pods. Zap, zap. 2 well-aimed shots disabled the launchers, but the pods themselves were heavily armored and continued to spread their toxic influence. Caleb steered the Megazord toward Wida Rapella's main ship. We're going straight for Wida. Take out the head of the snake. As they neared, a section of the main Bong ship opened, and a giant, crystalline monster descended. It was the Frostbite Bud, a massive, icy creature made of frozen, crystallized resin, radiating paralyzing cold. It carried a colossal, chilling mace. Weeda Rapella's cackling voice echoed. Meet the chill that ends the thrill, Weed Rangers. Frostbite Bud will put your little garden to sleep. Permanently. 39. The Chronic Defense Megazord met the Frostbite Bud in a clash of elements. The Bud's mace struck the CBD Brontosaur chest plate, and while the Megazord was protected by the CBD shield, the intense cold instantly froze the surface of the Zord's armor, slowing its movements. He's icing us up, Finn, Blue Ranger, warned, channeling his indica flow to try and maintain the Megazord's internal temperature. We can't get stuck. Jasmine, speed, Caleb shouted. The Megazord used the Skunk Panther's speed to pull back, dodging a second, more powerful strike. They needed heat. Maya, can you reverse the THC beam saber polarity? Turn it into a concentrated heat source, a torch. Affirmative. It will drain our core power quickly, but it will melt that ice. Maya replied, her focus absolute. 40. The Megazord's right arm, the hybrid mantis arm, ignited with a brilliant, blazing orange light. The THC beam saber was now the sativa torch, radiating searing heat. Caleb charged forward, not to strike, but to melt. The heat of the torch hit the Frostbite Bud's crystalline surface, causing the resin to instantly crackle, hiss, and melt into a viscous, steaming liquid. The Bud roared in pain, its icy form dissolving. But as it melted, Weeda Rapella's ship began to pulse with a dark, concentrated purple energy. On the balcony, Weeda raised her staff high, her eyes gleaming with dark pleasure. You hate the cold, then feel the decay, make my marijuana grow. A colossal beam of intense, toxic, supersize energy slammed into the Frostbite Bud. The melting resin hardened instantly, expanding exponentially. 41. The giant Frostbite Bud now towered over the city, its crystalline form infused with toxic purple light. Its mace was massive enough to crush the entire Megazord in one blow. He's been supersized and weaponized with decay energy. Xavier, Black Ranger, roared, struggling against the sheer pressure of the giant monster's energy field. We need the ultimate combination, and we need it now. Caleb yelled. Finn, we need pure, overwhelming defensive power. We're activating the chronic immunity mode. The chronic defense Megazord shifted. The CBD Brontosaur, Blue Ranger, and the Kush Mastodon, Black Ranger, detached from the combination. They merged into a single, squat, impenetrable fortress shield, the impact blocker. This shield hovered in front of the remaining Megazord. The remaining three Zords, THC Rex, Hybrid Mantis, and Skunk Panther, reconfigured into a lighter, faster form called the Tri-Chronic Assault Mode. 42. The Tri-Chronic Assault Mode was lightning fast. Caleb controlled its movements, dancing around the massive, lumbering strikes of the giant Frostbite Bud. Finn, Xavier, hold that impact blocker steady. Caleb commanded. The Frostbite Bud unleashed a wave of absolute freezing wind. The Tri-Chronic Assault Mode was too fast to freeze, but the wind hammered against the impact blocker. Finn's indica flow and Xavier's Kush force worked in perfect tandem, the combined energies forming an immovable, warm shield that absorbed the freezing wave. Maya, Yellow Ranger, used the Megazord's speed to fly the Tri-Chronic Assault Mode high above the monster. I see the source. The purple energy is being pumped directly into its head, keeping its crystalline structure stable. Then we deliver the ultimate sativa surge right to its brain, Caleb said, pulling back the Megazord's arm. 43. Caleb charged the remaining power into the THC Rex head, focusing a terrifying amount of energy into one point. The sativa torch intensified, becoming a white-hot spear of pure, focused light, the chronic piercer. Finn, I need a distraction, a sensory overload. Caleb shouted. Finn, Blue Ranger, piloting the stationary impact blocker, unleashed a sudden, powerful flash of the deepest blue, tranquil light. The pure calm of the indica flow hit the frantic, overcharged energy of the Frostbite Bud, causing a brief moment of system overload. The giant Bud staggered, momentarily blinded and disoriented. Now, Red Ranger, Jasmine yelled. Caleb flew the Tri-Chronic Assault Mode down like a comet, driving the chronic piercer directly into the giant Frostbite Bud's purple glowing head. 44. The impact was cataclysmic. The chronic piercer, pure, concentrated, high-energy light, hit the unstable, freezing decay energy. The giant frostbite bud didn't explode, it instantly began to melt from the inside out, turning into a plume of harmless, cold mist that evaporated into the sky. The two pestilence pods, starved of the monster's protective power, were immediately shot down by local defense systems, crashing harmlessly outside the city limits. The metallic vines choking the city shriveled and fell away. From her main ship, Ouida Rapella let out a final, ear-splitting scream of pure frustration. "You will never defeat the root of all evil. I will return, and I will bring the greatest decay Ganja Grove has ever known." With a snap of her fingers, the Bong ship vanished through its own vortex, leaving behind a clean, clear, and quiet sky. 45. The 5 rangers, demorphed and breathing heavily, stood on the rooftop where they started. The city was safe, the sky was clearing, and the scent of fresh air replaced the smog and toxin. They were tired, scraped, and completely drained. "The chronic immunity mode worked," Finn said, collapsing onto the rooftop. "But I think I used up all the indica flow on the planet." "We need a serious recharge," Caleb agreed, looking out over the city. "But we won. We beat her biggest monster yet." Xavier simply pointed. Below, where the metallic vines had been, patches of vibrant green grass were already emerging from the pavement, fertilized by the residual energy of the bloom bombs. The fight was over, but the war for Ganja Grove's green heart was just beginning. The Rangers knew Ouida Rapella would return, and next time, the stakes would be even higher. The training, the Zords, and the power of the Chronics were the only things standing between their city and total, permanent decay. 46. The Chronics' Nexus base was still buzzing with high alert, but the 5 Rangers were enjoying a rare moment of peace, sitting around a shimmering crystal table. "We beat the Dread Trimmer, but Ouida Rapella is still out there, and she's getting stronger," Caleb, Red Ranger, said, swirling a cool, energizing liquid in a glass. "We need to find her lair." "Agreed," Maya, Yellow Ranger, confirmed, tapping on her wrist console. "Her ship vanished through a localized energy vortex. I can track the residue, but it's weak and scattered. It'll take days of scanning to pinpoint the entry point to her dimension." Whedon's light flared from his tube. "Tracking the enemy is crucial, Yellow Ranger. But your power alone is not enough. You must merge your technological mastery with the Earth's natural sensitivity. You must find the Oracle Spore." 47. Whedon explained that the Oracle Spore was a mythical, sentient fungus that possessed the ability to see across dimensions and time, but it only grew in a place of perfect isolation and natural harmony. "The spore is located deep within the Emerald Canyons, a region untouched by the Overgrower's pollution," Whedon instructed. "It will enhance the senses of the one who finds it, allowing them to track any energy signature, even one as chaotic as Ouida Rapella's lair." "And who is that one?" Jasmine, Pink Ranger, asked, adjusting her sleeves. "Sounds like a stealth mission." "It requires the purest sensory input, coupled with vital essence," Whedon said, looking at Jasmine. "Pink Ranger, this is your quest. The skunk bloom gives you the perfect synergy to bond with the Oracle Spore." 48. While Jasmine prepared for her solo mission to the Emerald Canyons, the rest of the team gathered around the newly recovered CBD Brontosaur Zord. The Brontosaur was a game-changer, Caleb admitted, running his hand over the Zord's jade plating. "But we still need offensive options that don't rely on us nearly overheating the Megazord." Whedon nodded. "Your intuition is correct, Red Ranger. You are still missing the final piece of the chronic arsenal, the Hemp Blade Shark Zord. It is the Zord of concentrated, kinetic energy." "A Shark Zord?" Finn, Blue Ranger, questioned. "But we're nowhere near the ocean. Its power is not of water, but of speed and kinetic compression," Whedon clarified. "The Hemp Blade Shark is housed in the city's ancient, unused subway tunnels. It needs a pilot with relentless drive and the courage to push limits." 49. Whedon continued, directing his attention to Caleb. "Red Ranger, the sativa surge fuels action and motion. You must navigate the tunnels, a test of speed, instinct, and control, and awaken the Hemp Blade Shark. Once you succeed, the Chronic Megazord will achieve its ultimate form, the Chronic Ultimate Ranger Mode." Caleb's eyes blazed with excitement. This was exactly the kind of high-stakes challenge he lived for. And so, the team split. Jasmine headed toward the unspoiled wilds of the Emerald Canyons, while Caleb, accompanied by Maya, Finn, and Xavier, prepared for a descent into the dark, labyrinthine depths of Ganja Grove's forgotten subway system. 50. Jasmine's journey to the Emerald Canyons was a sensory delight. The air was clean and sweet, the trees were colossal, and the ground was a vibrant mosaic of flowers and moss. She used her skunk bloom power to track energy signatures, leading her deeper into the canyon's untouched heart. She eventually arrived at a cave guarded by a swirling mist. As she entered, the mist cleared, revealing a small, glowing patch of pure white fungi, the oracle spore. It radiated peace and knowledge. As she reached for it, a shadow fell over her. Emerging from the crystalline walls was a human villain. Baron Rust, one of the Overgrower's most senior engineers, armed with a powerful sonic disruptor that targeted biological organisms. The Overgrower knew you'd come for this. No hippie magic will ruin my perfectly engineered decay. Baron Rust sneered, firing a focused, agonizing sonic beam at Jasmine. 51. Jasmine, Pink Ranger, morphed instantly. The sonic wave hit her skunk bloom armor, causing intense pain, but her vital essence energy absorbed the worst of the damage. You smell like old grease and bad intentions, Baron. Jasmine shot back, leaping onto a high rock formation. The fight was about stealth versus sound. Baron Rust used his disruptor to create walls of sonic energy, hoping to cage Jasmine and prevent her from reaching the oracle spore. Jasmine countered by utilizing her skunk bloom agility, darting between the sound waves. She fired precision shots from her bloom bow, targeting the joints in Baron Rust's heavy combat armor. The oracle spore, sensing the conflict, began to pulse faster, its light intensifying, waiting for the victor. 52. Meanwhile, deep beneath Ganja Grove, the other 4 rangers navigated the dark, flooded subway tunnels in their individual Zords. The mission was to clear the path for Caleb's THC Rex. Maya, Yellow Ranger, riding the hybrid Mantis, used its cutting arms to slice through rusted machinery and collapsed track. Xavier, Black Ranger, in the mighty Kush Mastodon, bore through rockslides with raw Kush force. Finn, Blue Ranger, in the CBD Brontosaur, used his defensive energy to clear pockets of explosive, noxious gas that had built up over the years. Caleb, in the agile THC Rex, took the lead, trusting his sativa surge instincts to navigate the maze of tunnels. Maya, how much further? Caleb asked over the comms, adrenaline pumping. It's close, Red Ranger. I'm tracking a massive, contained energy spike right through this wall. That's the hemp blade shark. 53. They breached the final wall and found a large, submerged cavern. In the center, suspended in a massive, ancient energy field, was the hemp blade shark Zord. It was sleek, silver, and covered in razor-sharp, kinetic blades, radiating raw speed. Suddenly, the water erupted. They were ambushed by Boldar, who had been rebuilt and reinforced by Weeder Repella. He was now encased in dark titanium armor, even larger than before, and armed with twin decay-powered clubs. The Weed Rangers are mine. Boldar roared, swinging his clubs and instantly flooding the cavern with debris. Boldar's tougher than ever, Caleb shouted. Finn, defensive stance. Xavier, Maya, cover the shark Zord. I'm going in for the pilot test. 54. Finn and Xavier immediately engaged the massive villain. The CBD Brontosaur, Blue Ranger, positioned itself between the hemp blade shark and Boldar, absorbing the full brunt of the clubs. The Kush Mastodon, Black Ranger, provided supporting fire, creating localized earth tremors to disrupt Boldar's footing. Maya, Yellow Ranger, in the hybrid Mantis, used a specialized laser to maintain the hemp blade shark's suspension field, ensuring Caleb had a chance to reach it. Caleb, Red Ranger, launched the THC Rex and leapt directly from its head, swimming through the debris-filled water toward the suspended shark Zord. He reached the cockpit, placed his sativa surge coin into the slot, and felt an immense rush of speed and kinetic power. The hemp blade shark roared to life, shattering the suspension field. 55. In the Emerald Canyons, Jasmine delivered a critical strike. She charged her bloom bow with her skunk bloom essence and fired a cluster of vitality arrows at Baron Rust's disruptor. The pure, life-affirming energy of the arrows reacted violently with the chaotic sonic device, causing it to overload and explode in his hands. Baron Rust screamed and retreated, leaving the oracle spore undefended. Jasmine reached the spore, placed her hands on the glowing fungi, and concentrated her skunk bloom energy. Immediately, her mind was flooded with a stream of data, maps, coordinates, and energy signatures. She saw the location of Weta Repella's lair, a hidden, decaying moon orbiting far beyond Earth's atmosphere. Lair found. Jasmine radioed back triumphantly, the coordinates already relaying to the Nexus. But I need backup to secure the information. Just then, Caleb's voice cut through the comms, brimming with a new kind of energy. Jasmine, hold tight. I've got the hemp blade shark. We're coming to you for the final combination. It's time for the Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode. 56. The four Zords, THC Rex, Hybrid Mantis, Kush Mastodon, and the newly acquired hemp blade shark, waited in a remote, high-altitude desert training zone. Finn, Blue Ranger, and his CBD Brontosaur arrived, and finally, Jasmine, Pink Ranger, landed her Zord after successfully retrieving the Oracle Spore. Jasmine, did you get the coordinates? Caleb, Red Ranger, asked, stepping out of the THC Rex cockpit. I didn't just get them, Caleb. I feel them, Jasmine said, her eyes shining with the calm, spatial awareness of the Oracle Spore. Weta Repella is hiding on a barren, decaying moon, far beyond the atmosphere. It's time for us to launch. Then let's give Master Whedon a show, Caleb grinned. It's time for the ultimate combination. 57. High above, on the moon-like surface of Weta Repella's lair, the villainess watched the distant Earth through a murky portal screen, her face contorted with fury. Beside her stood Boldar, recently resurrected and reinforced with heavy ceramic plating. They dared to seek me out, Boldar. Weta shrieked, slamming her staff against the floor. They defeated my frostbite bud and found my sanctuary. It ends now. Ready the mega pesty bug swarm. If I cannot have Ganja Grove, I will turn their home into a frozen wasteland from space. Boldar pounded his massive fists together. Boldar smash, mistress. No green thing will escape the decay. 58. Back on Earth, the six Zords positioned themselves in a complex, synchronized array. This combination requires the focus of all six chronics working in absolute harmony, Whedon's voice boomed from the Nexus. Failure to harmonize will result in total Zord meltdown. Concentrate. Caleb took the central command. Red Ranger, Sativa Surge, Pure Energy. Finn focused on stability. Blue Ranger, Indica Flow, Grounding Force. Maya provided the precision. Yellow Ranger, Hybrid Haze, System Alignment. Jasmine prepared the vital systems. Pink Ranger, Skunk Bloom, Life and Integrity. Xavier supplied the base power. Black Ranger, Kush Force, Structural Strength. And finally, the new speed component. Green Ranger, Hemp Blade Shark, Kinetic Movement. Note: the Hemp Blade Shark Zord grants the Megazord Green Ranger power, as it is the final piece of the original Chronic Sativa structure. 59. With a unified, thunderous roar, the six Zords engaged. The CBD Brontosaur Blue provided the core torso and the impenetrable defensive plating. The Kush Mastodon Black formed the heavy, grounded legs and shoulder pylons. The THC Rex Red became the streamlined, armored chest and the powerful right arm. The Hybrid Mantis Yellow formed the left arm, capable of deploying technological fields and precision tools. The Skunk Panther Pink broke down into the waist armor and the critical life support systems. Finally, the Hemp Blade Shark Green integrated into the back, forming a massive, flight-stabilizing dorsal fin and a kinetic energy generator. The six Zord machine stood up, radiating power that shimmered across the desert floor. It was the Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode. Sleek, powerful, and radiating an aura of unstoppable growth. 60. The Megazord was faster than any form before it. Its energy systems were stable, powered by the perfect balance of six strains. Target coordinates locked, Caleb, Maya reported from the yellow console. We have to break through the atmosphere and cross 3 lunar orbits to reach her lair. We're doing it in one jump, Caleb declared. Full Sativa Surge and Hemp Blade Shark Kinetic Boost. Prepare for launch. The Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode knelt, then leapt into the sky. The Hemp Blade Shark generator on its back spun violently, accumulating immense kinetic energy. Kaboom! The Megazord punched through the atmosphere in a single, blazing green streak of energy, leaving Earth's gravity behind and soaring toward the distant, decaying moon that housed Wheata's lair. 61. The journey through space was uneventful but tense. Finn, Blue Ranger, monitored the shield integrity, constantly channeling the indica flow to keep the cosmic radiation at bay. "We're approaching her decay field perimeter," Finn warned. "It's a barrier of concentrated anti-life energy. The CBD shield is holding, but it's weakening our primary systems." "Jasmine, can you infuse the shield with skunk bloom?" Caleb asked. "Give the shield some life essence to counter the decay." Jasmine activated the Pink Ranger's power. The CBD shield gained a subtle, pink shimmer, strengthening its integrity and allowing the Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode to punch through the perimeter with minimal power loss. 62. They arrived at Wheata Rapella's lair, a desolate, asteroid-like moon covered in strange, crystalline structures and vents spewing toxic purple gas. The Bong ship was docked at the center. Before they could land, a wave of hundreds of giant mega-pesty bugs, each one the size of a school bus, swarmed out of the moon's craters. The mega-pesty bug swarm. Wheata's final line of defense. Caleb yelled. "Maya, offensive configuration, hybrid haze targeting system." The Megazord activated the hybrid mantis arm, yellow, which deployed a targeting system that tracked every single mega-pesty bug simultaneously. 63. The Megazord didn't hesitate. It used its newly enhanced speed, powered by the hemp blade shark green generator, to move through the swarm like a blur. Finn maintained the core defense while Caleb unleashed the Megazord's newest weapon, the shark blade cannon, which fired concentrated bursts of hyperkinetic energy. Each blast sliced through multiple mega-pesty bugs, causing them to explode into harmless puffs of dust. Xavier, Black Ranger, used the Kush mastodon legs to stomp down on the moon's surface, creating localized seismic quakes that destroyed dozens of bugs hiding in crevices. They were systematically clearing the swarm, but the sheer volume of bugs was overwhelming. 64. Suddenly, a massive figure leapt from the Bong ship. Boldar, now piloting his own Zord, a colossal, dark purple, decaying creature called the Rotten Rhizome Zord. It was a towering machine designed to rip and tear with massive, root-like claws. "Chronic Megazord, prepare for annihilation." Boldar's voice crackled. The Rotten Rhizome Zord was purely offensive, abandoning all defense for destructive power. It charged the Rangers, its claws glowing with toxic decay energy. "Finn, protect the ship," Caleb yelled. "Maya, get us close. We need to pierce his cockpit before he tears us apart." 65. The final, epic battle began. The Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode engaged in Zord-to-Zord combat with the Rotten Rhizome Zord. Boldar was predictable but brutal. He used raw power, swinging his root claws in wide, destructive arcs. The Rangers countered with precision and speed. They used the hemp blade shark speed burst to dodge a massive swipe, then countered with a double hit from the THC Rex arm, red, and the hybrid mantis arm, yellow. The impact staggered the Rotten Rhizome Zord, but Boldar's enhanced armor held firm. Wheata Rapella watched from her ship, cackling. "Struggle all you want, little sprouts. You are too far from your home to regenerate. This is where you fall." The Rangers knew they had to end this, but Boldar's defense was too strong, and Wheata was about to intervene. 66. He's too heavy. Xavier, Black Ranger, strained, channeling Kush force to hold the Megazord steady as the Rotten Rhizome Zord's giant root claws raked across their armor. "We can't sustain this kinetic damage. We can't win a slugfest." Caleb, Red Ranger, agreed, dodging a massive swipe. "Finn, can we create an opening? Give us 3 seconds. 3 seconds of pure indica flow calm coming up." Finn, Blue Ranger, roared. He diverted all power from the CBD shield to the Megazord's internal dampeners, unleashing a shockwave of tranquil energy. The chaotic decay in the Rotten Rhizome Zord's systems briefly stalled, and Boldar froze, completely disoriented. 67. "Now, everyone, focus the chronics to the hemp blade shark generator," Caleb commanded. "We're combining all 6 strains into one final energy wave. Maya, plot the trajectory for the Super Bong cannon." Maya, Yellow Ranger, focused by hybrid haze precision, worked the controls. Trajectory calculated. It needs to hit the main decay engine in his chest. A direct hit is required. The Megazord's arms converged on the back unit. The hemp blade shark green spun violently, drawing in the energy from the sativa surge, indica flow, skunk bloom, and kush force. The central column of the Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode extended, and a massive, transparent green and white weapon materialized, glowing with concentrated power, the Super Bong Cannon. 68. The Super Bong Cannon pulsed with pure, amplified growth energy. It was a beautiful, terrifying sight, focused directly on Boldar's chest plate. Boldar, recovering from the indica flow shockwave, saw the weapon and panicked. "Mistress, they have a big one." Wida Rapella's voice shrieked from the Bong ship. "Fool, destroy them, Boldar, before they fire that abhorrent garden tool." Boldar charged forward, trying to break the Megazord's concentration. 69. Fire, Caleb yelled. A colossal beam of vibrant, cleansing green light, the culmination of all 6 chronics, shot out from the Super Bong Cannon. This wasn't just heat or kinetic force, it was concentrated life energy, designed to instantly reverse decay. The beam struck the rotten rhizome Zord dead center. Instead of an explosion, the effect was instantaneous, intense, and strange. The dark, decay-ridden metal of Boldar's Zord turned a sickly yellow, then rusted, then crumbled into dust in a matter of seconds, leaving only the smaller, defeated shell of the rotten rhizome's core structure. Boldar's voice, now small and defeated, squeaked through the comms. Decay. Reversed. 70. The Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode landed gracefully next to the defeated core Zord. The 5 Rangers leapt out of the cockpit and demorphed, running toward the wreckage. They found Boldar, dazed and disoriented, but alive, lying in the dust. His titanium armor was completely stripped away, revealing a surprisingly small, scared figure underneath. Before they could apprehend him, the sky turned a dark, boiling purple again. Wida Rapella's Bong ship was hovering directly overhead. 71. You ruined my masterpiece. You turned my strongest warrior into a pile of rust. Wida Rapella shrieked from the ship's viewing platform. Her face was contorted, but she held her staff in a defensive posture, ready to retreat. She pointed her staff directly at the Rangers. But you cannot stop the darkness from returning. Ganja Grove will fall to my ultimate decay. You may have won the battle, but the war for green supremacy is eternal. 72. A dark purple vortex ripped open next to the Bong ship. It was bigger and more unstable than any portal she had created before. We need to stop her from escaping. Xavier, Black Ranger, yelled, taking a step toward the ship. No, Xavier, Jasmine, Pink Ranger cried, placing her hand on his arm. She was still under the subtle influence of the Oracle Spore, and she saw a terrifying possibility. If we push her now, she'll unleash a massive, desperate decay blast that could shatter this moon and send us all into deep space. Let her run. She'll return to her other dimension to regroup. 73. Caleb, though his instinct was to pursue, trusted Jasmine's newfound wisdom. Everyone, retreat to the Zord. We need to pull back before that vortex destabilizes. As the 5 Rangers scrambled back into the Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode cockpit, Wida Rapella let out one final, haunting cackle. You've bought Ganja Grove a moment, little green things. But your time runs out. Make my marijuana grow. With that final, defiant shout, the Bong ship sped into the vortex and vanished, leaving the desolate moon strangely quiet. 74. The Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode lifted off, soaring away from the desolate moon. The Rangers had won an incredible victory. They had saved Ganja Grove from full-scale invasion, defeated Boldar, and secured the final Zord. Back in the Chronic's Nexus, Master Whedon's light was calm. The balance is restored, for now. You have done well, Weed Rangers. Wida Rapella is in retreat, but she is planning her return. This war is far from over. Whedon then gave them their final instruction for the immediate future. Boldar has been captured and imprisoned in the most secure vault of the Nexus. We must study him. But your mission, Rangers, is to find the secret strain scroll, a legendary text that details how to create the ultimate, permanent strain of restorative power, a strain that can cleanse the decay from all dimensions. 75. Caleb looked at his 4 friends, Maya, Finn, Jasmine, and Xavier. They were no longer just teenagers who stumbled into a hole, they were seasoned, powerful heroes. Weta Rapella is out there, but she's going to find Ganja Grove stronger than ever when she gets back, Caleb declared. We've got the Chronic Ultimate Ranger mode, we've got the Oracle Spore, and we've got a new quest: find the secret strain scroll. The 5 Weed Rangers stood together, their adventure continuing into a new dimension of danger and destiny, ready to face whatever new villainy Weta Rapella would cook up next. Their mission was clear: protect the green heart of the universe. 76. Deep within the Chronic's nexus, the 5 Weed Rangers gathered around the pedestal where Master Whedon floated, presenting the prize of their last mission: a brittle, ancient parchment bound by hemp twine, the secret strain scroll. The prophecies say this scroll details how to create the ultimate, permanent strain of restorative power, Whedon's voice echoed gently. But it is protected. Be prepared for anything the moment you unroll it. Caleb, Red Ranger, nodded, the leader's resolve firm on his face. He reached out and snapped the twine. The scroll unrolled, not into flat parchment, but a swirling, psychedelic galaxy of green, blue, and crystalline white. The room filled with the scent of ozone and pine. It's marijuana time, Finn, Blue Ranger, whispered, mesmerized. The scroll didn't contain text, it contained a universe. 2 blinding, irresistible beams of energy shot out, one a blistering white frost, the other a swirling, vibrant neon spectrum. Caleb, Xavier, Black Ranger, and Finn were caught in the frosty beam, and in a flash of ice and wind, they vanished. Maya, Yellow Ranger, and Jasmine, Pink Ranger, were enveloped in the neon vortex and disappeared an instant later. 77. Caleb, Xavier, and Finn landed hard on a treacherous, icy ridge. They were immediately hit by a blizzard so fierce it stung their armored skin. They had instinctively morphed during the transport, but the sheer cold was fighting their protective chronics. It's freezing. My sativa surge power is struggling to maintain core temperature, Caleb shouted, leaning against a sheer wall of ice. The air is thin, too, Xavier grunted, his Kush Force armor visibly collecting ice, slowing his movements. My power is grounding, but this environment fights stability. Finn, however, seemed strangely calm, using his indica flow to conserve energy. This must be the frozen mountain temple, he observed. We need to find shelter before we freeze solid. Follow the calm. 78. Following Finn's sensory-dampened path, they found a massive cave carved into the sheer, glowing blue ice. Inside, the temperature was slightly less lethal, but the cave was guarded by a massive figure, a 7-foot-tall, shimmering white creature with moss-covered fur and glowing red eyes, the Yeti Guardian. The Guardian did not speak. It let out a thunderous roar, its breath frosting the air. It was a test of raw strength. I'll take him, Xavier yelled, pulling out his Kush axe. No, wait, his power is pure defensive strength, like his armor. Maya's voice crackled faintly over the comms, though she was nowhere near. Look for the weak point. The Yeti Guardian charged, its fists like ice boulders. Xavier met the blow with his armored shoulder. The impact sent a painful shockwave through the Black Ranger, but he held his ground. 79. He's too strong to beat with raw power, Xavier, Caleb shouted, firing ineffective sativa blasts at the Guardian's thick hide. The Guardian aimed a crushing blow at Caleb. Xavier intercepted, using the blunt end of his Kush axe as a wedge. He's strong, but slow, Xavier roared, pushing with everything he had. Finn, focus your indica flow on his center of gravity. Finn, already calm, channeled a focused blue beam of pure tranquility. It hit the Guardian's massive chest, momentarily throwing off its balance and slowing its reaction time. Xavier saw the chance, disengaged his lock, and delivered a powerful upward strike to the Yeti's chin, forcing its head back. The Yeti Guardian didn't fall, but it stopped fighting. It lowered its head, and a shard of blue ice fell from its neck, landing on the snowy ground. You have the strength of the deep root, the Guardian's voice echoed telepathically. The clue to escape is the frozen spore key. It is held within the tallest peak, protected by the winds of doubt. 80. Meanwhile, Maya and Jasmine landed in an explosion of color and sound. They were in the psychedelic jungle dimension, where the air hummed with impossible frequencies, and every vine and flower pulsed with neon light. The very ground seemed to breathe. They were instantly dizzy, their senses overwhelmed. "I can't focus," Maya, Yellow Ranger, gasped, clutching her helmet. "The hybrid haze is being amplified, turning the input into chaos." "Stay low," Jasmine, Pink Ranger, commanded. She immediately channeled her skunk bloom, releasing a highly concentrated, pungent scent that cut through the visual and auditory noise. The dense, cloying air suddenly felt clearer, grounding them. 81. They had to proceed through a thicket of giant, luminous ferns. As they moved, the ferns began to shift, forming a swirling, dizzying maze. The walls of the maze showed them illusions. Maya saw a complex system failure that erased all her tech, and Jasmine saw a reflection of herself trapped in a lifeless, gray city. It was a test by the sentient flora of the jungle, designed to lock their minds in a loop of fear. "It's a mental attack. Don't look at the walls," Jasmine warned, using her stealth training to navigate, relying only on the feeling of the ground beneath her feet. "I need to override this sensory input," Maya said, activating a defensive function on her haze blasters. 82. Maya used the haze blasters to project a focused, calming yellow light onto the surrounding plant walls. This wasn't an attack, but a frequency shift, a way to force the sentient flora out of its aggressive state and into a harmonious one. "Flora, we seek knowledge, not chaos." Maya projected her thoughts through the focused frequency. The plants responded, the colors dimming, and the maze walls retracting. In the center, a single, glowing vine formed a cryptic message in glowing amber light: "The map is not a path, but a connection." A long, winding pulsating vine map then dropped at their feet, covered in strange, circuit-like markings. 83. Back in the mountain temple, Caleb held the frozen spore key, a perfect ice crystal shaped like a flower. He spoke into the comms. "Maya, Jasmine, do you read? We found a frozen spore key here. It feels like it belongs to something." Maya's voice crackled back, sounding relieved. "We read you. We found a pulsating vine map. It's covered in circuit patterns and has markings that look like crystal slots. Do your key and our map fit together?" A burst of static followed, but the realization was clear: they had been given complementary components. Their escape was not about finding an exit, but about finding the meeting point of their two dimensions. 84. In the Chronix Nexus, Master Whedon observed the dimensional instability. The scroll did not send them to a single location, but to two poles of the same field. They must use the artifacts to stabilize the bridge between the ether ice and bioluminous dimensions. If they fail, the connection will snap, trapping them forever. Whedon projected a powerful, stabilizing thought toward the Rangers' comms. "Rangers, the dimensions are unstable. You must bridge the gap between your locations simultaneously. You need the Chronic Megazord to force the connection." 85. The two teams looked at their respective surroundings. The mountain team was at the base of the tallest, most wind-swept peak, and the jungle team was staring up at a gigantic, bioluminescent tree canopy. "We need the Megazord," Caleb stated. "But how do we assemble it across dimensions?" "We don't assemble it, we pilot the individual Zords across the dimensional fabric," Maya reasoned. "We use the pulsating vine map to find the exact point where the dimensions overlap, where our mountain peak meets the highest jungle canopy, and use the Zords' combined power to stabilize the rift. It's the only way to bridge the gap and use the frozen spore key." The Rangers prepared for the most daring maneuver of their career, piloting their individual Zords, guided only by two cryptic artifacts, to the exact point of dimensional overlap. 86. Caleb, Red Ranger, activated the Sativa Surge Zord, Finn, Blue Ranger, stabilized the Indica Flow Zord, and Xavier, Black Ranger, took point in the Heavy Kush Force Zord. The three giant machines carefully ascended the sheer, treacherous face of the ice mountain. "Whedon, what's the threat level on this peak?" Caleb radioed, his voice tight. "The air is rapidly destabilizing into a corrosive, frozen smog, a defense created by the decay energy of this dimension," Whedon's voice warned. "It will compromise your Zords' structural integrity in minutes. You must reach the summit where the dimensional rift is weakest. It's a race against the clock and the frost," Caleb yelled, urging his Zord faster. 87. The corrosive smog was a mixture of frozen acid and decay particles, clinging to the Zord's limbs. The Sativa Surge Zord, built for speed, moved quickly, but the smog began to etch lines into its joints. Xavier's Cush Force Zord was built for resilience, allowing him to carve handholds in the ice for his teammates, but he was bearing the brunt of the decay. Finn, using the calm focus of indica flow, piloted his Zord with surgical precision, locating the few stable patches of ice. I'm creating a path, but the climb is almost vertical now. Xavier, get ready to secure us. 88. As they neared the summit, the blizzard intensified, revealing a gigantic, skeletal figure carved from blue ice, wielding a massive, scythe-like implement, the Rime Reaper Guardian. It was blocking the final ascent. Another Guardian, and this one looks mean, Xavier shouted. Finn, keep the indica flow focused on the decay field, we need more time. Caleb commanded. Xavier and I hit it hard and fast. Caleb launched his Zord's energized sativa blades. The Reaper blocked the attack with a terrible screech of ice against metal. Xavier followed up, smashing his Cush Force Zord's fist into the Guardian's icy torso, causing deep cracks to spiderweb across its form. 89. Meanwhile, in the dizzying psychedelic jungle dimension, Maya, Yellow Ranger, and Jasmine, Pink Ranger, had a far more complicated problem. The pulsating vine map showed the dimensional overlap at the bioluminescent canopy, hundreds of feet above the jungle floor. The Skunk Bloom Zord Pink is too light for this, and the Hybrid Haze Zord Yellow is too clunky, Maya analyzed, watching the vines swing wildly. The overlapping point requires us to be still and focused, but we have to get there first. We treat the canopy like a trapeze act, Jasmine decided. My Zord can handle the acrobatics. I'll use the flexibility of the Skunk Bloom to swing, and you use the precision of the Hybrid Haze to create the attachment points. 90. Jasmine launched her Zord, using its specialized vine whip appendages to grab the thick, bioluminescent branches. She swung in a massive arc through the air, the dazzling colors and impossible geometry threatening to break her concentration. I need a clean lock on that central junction, Maya. Jasmine yelled, fighting the visual chaos. Maya piloted her Zord, firing precise, sticky shots from her haze blasters onto the junction point, a massive, glowing knot of vines. These shots instantly cooled and hardened, creating a perfect, stable metal ring. 91. Jasmine's Skunk Bloom Zord swung, its foot attachments locking perfectly into Maya's newly created ring. They repeated this maneuver, Jasmine moving with athletic grace, Maya creating the necessary infrastructure, slowly building a chain of stable anchor points to the dizzying heights of the canopy. We're almost there. Just 2 more swings, Maya reported, sweat beading on her brow. Suddenly, a giant pitcher plant parasite, a massive, slobbering carnivorous flower, snapped its jaws near Jasmine's anchor point, narrowly missing the Skunk Bloom Zord's shoulder. 92. Back on the ice mountain, Caleb and Xavier were struggling to damage the Rime Reaper Guardian enough to pass. It regenerates instantly from the surrounding ice. Caleb noticed. Our blasts are useless. We need heat, Red Ranger. Xavier cried, his Zord's arm frozen in place by the Guardian's touch. Something that burns the decay away, not just smashes it. Finn, remembering his past lessons, directed the Indica Flow Zord toward the highest point on the peak, channeling a focused, steady energy beam. It wasn't an attack, but a directional signal. 93. I'm using the energy field to channel the frozen spore key power into the atmosphere. It's reacting like a giant lens. Finn shouted. Now, Xavier, use your Cush axe on the key's base. Xavier, with a Herculean effort, smashed the Cush axe down onto the ice key's base. The entire crystalline structure shattered, releasing a massive plume of pure, intense heat that had been stored within the ice itself. This sudden surge of warmth vaporized the Rime Reaper Guardian into steam and, critically, burned away the corrosive smog clinging to their Zords, clearing the path to the summit. 94. In the jungle, the pitcher plant parasite lunged again, its jaws snapping around the Skunk Bloom Zord's leg. I'm trapped, Jasmine yelled. Maya, seeing the danger, piloted her Zord backward, putting maximum tension on the last connecting vine. She then hit the accelerator, pulling Jasmine's Zord free with a violent snap, launching it straight up into the canopy. The pitcher plant was left with a mouthful of snapping vines. Jasmine landed safely at the top canopy junction, quickly followed by Maya. They activated the pulsating vine map, laying it across the mossy ground. 95. The mountain team reached the summit. The air was clear and still. They saw a circular indentation in the ice that perfectly matched the size of the pulsating vine map. We're directly opposite each other. Caleb realized. Maya, insert the map now. Done. Maya confirmed. The instant the map was inserted, the circular pattern lit up, and a massive rift began to tear open between the jungle canopy and the ice mountain. The frozen spore key in Caleb's hand hummed violently. Now, the final step. Whedon commanded. Caleb, insert the frozen spore key into the nexus point. It will stabilize the bridge and allow you all to combine your Zords for the final quest. Caleb lifted his Zord's hand, holding the key toward the volatile, swirling rift, ready to complete the dimensional bridge. 96. Caleb, Red Ranger, standing in the cockpit of the Sativa Surge Zord, thrust the frozen spore key into the shimmering, unstable rift above the mountain peak. On the opposite side, Maya, Yellow Ranger, laid the pulsating vine map into its icy counterpart. The moment the key and map connected, the rift shrieked. It didn't stabilize, it exploded, becoming a stable, six-sided dimensional bridge of pure green energy. The air in the Chronix Nexus back on Earth began to crackle violently. In the maximum security containment field of the Nexus, where Boldar's essence was held after his Megazord defeat, the stabilization shockwave shattered the energy bonds. The vile gold essence, furious and intact, erupted from the prison. 97. Freedom. Weta Repella will reward my persistence. Boldar roared, his gold form coalescing into a shimmering, demonic version of his former self. His escape was catastrophic. He smashed his way through the primary control room, directly toward the source of the dimensional energy, the secret strain scroll's open pedestal. On the moon, Weta Repella watched the unfolding chaos through her long-distance Bong ship scanner. Excellent, Boldar. Now, shatter that cursed nexus and trap those rangers forever. I want them stuck in those moldy dimensions. 98. As Boldar slammed his massive fist down on the pedestal, the secret strain scroll reacted, but not in the way he expected. Instead of disintegrating, the scroll flared, projecting a single, massive, three-dimensional hologram of a location onto the cavern wall. It was a swirling image of a remote, lost valley deep within the Amazonian rainforest, pulsating with a dark, primal energy. A specific landmark was highlighted. A colossal, ancient tree rooted in a pool of luminous, toxic-looking fluid. That was the scroll's true purpose. It was a dynamic map. The source. The scroll is a locator for the source strain. Whedon cried, watching the readout, just as Boldar's residual energy shattered the main Nexus console. 99. Boldar didn't care about the map, he just wanted to cause chaos. He channeled his golden, vile energy toward the open dimensional bridge, intending to close it violently and trap the rangers inside. You're not going anywhere, puny humans. Boldar bellowed, smashing the controls. We have to go now. Caleb yelled through the comms. Boldar's closing the bridge. Everyone, full power and jump through. The 5 Zords, Sativa Surge, Indica Flow, Hybrid Haze, Skunk Bloom, and Kush Force, launched themselves across the dimensional chasm, uniting in a burst of light just as Boldar's corrupted energy slammed into the dimensional gate. 100. The Rangers landed back in the Chronix Nexus with a deafening thud, their Zords collapsing to the ground just as the dimensional bridge vanished. They quickly demorphed, finding themselves face to face with a crazed, golden shimmering Boldar. You worthless seedlings, you won't escape my wrath again. Boldar shrieked, preparing a devastating energy blast. Master Whedon, the Zords are drained. Maya gasped, looking at her flickering Zord control panel. Whedon, floating above the chaos, had a split second to act. He focused the last remnants of the Nexus power, diverting the surge of energy from the shattered scroll pedestal, and hurled a small, glowing seed toward Boldar. 101. The seed struck Boldar's chest. Instead of exploding, the seed began to rapidly grow, immediately rooting itself into Boldar's volatile golden form. In seconds, he was wrapped in thick, resilient, thorny vines of pure, white-hot, purified cannabis fiber. No, my power. This plant. Boldar struggled, his golden sheen dulling as the purity of the fiber counteracted his decay energy. The pacification bud. A temporary fix, but it will hold him long enough for the new mission, Whedon explained, exhausted. Rangers, look at the wall. 102. The team looked up at the residual image of the jungle valley, still shimmering faintly. Boldar's attack activated the scroll, revealing the source strain's location, the Amazonian Valley of Perpetual Bloom, Whedon said, pointing to the toxic pool landmark. This is where the very first, purest cannabis strain, the source of all chronics, grows. If Whedon Repella gets to it first, she will taint it with her decay and gain control of all plant life on Earth. 103. Caleb immediately took charge. So, our next mission isn't defensive, it's a full-on expedition. We have the map, we have the coordinates. We need to find the source strain before Whedon does. But my comms picked up an anomaly, Maya interrupted, pulling up a flickering data stream on her wrist. Boldar's impact didn't just break the nexus. It triggered a distress signal from the hemp blade shark Zord. It was trying to warn us about something else in the Amazon. 104. The warning signal was faint, but the message was clear: dread growth. Incoming. Dread growth. That's what Whedon uses to rapidly corrupt plants. Jasmine cried, remembering the toxins from the smog factory. She already has a head start, Xavier confirmed, looking at the captured Boldar, who was now just a silent, angry statue of golden vines. We need to get to the Amazon, and we need to do it fast. But how? Our Zords are on low power. 105. Whedon smiled faintly, pointing to a small, sleek device that had been hidden beneath the main console. During your dimensional trials, I prepared a transport. This device will create a hyper-canal portal directly to the outer edges of the Amazon basin. It uses the remaining energy from the hemp blade shark's distress signal. However, it's a one-way trip, and you will arrive demorphed and without your Zords. Caleb grabbed the device. We go in as ourselves, find the source strain, and then call for the Zords when we secure it. Rangers, get ready for a jungle expedition. This is the start of the next great chapter. The team gathered, placing their hands together. The glow of their chronic coins was dim, but their resolve was bright. The Amazon awaited. 106. The hyper-canal portal spat the 5 teenagers out onto the muddy, root-tangled floor of the Amazonian rainforest with a final, hissing whump. The portal vanished instantly. The air was a suffocating, wet blanket, heavy with the scent of damp earth and aggressive flora. They were demorphed, wearing only their regular clothes, their chronic coins the sole source of subtle warmth and power against the oppressive climate. Caleb, Sativa Surge, immediately took a defensive stance, his eyes scanning the dense foliage. Everyone check your gear. One-way trip confirmed. We are officially on our own. No Zords, no armor. The humidity is intense, Maya, hybrid haze noted, wiping sweat from her brow as she scanned the area with her wrist communicator, now reduced to a simple GPS and comms device. The environmental readings are unstable. This place is already hostile. 107. Fin Indica Flow was the first to notice the unnatural silence. Listen. No birds. No insects. Nothing but the sound of the decay process, he whispered, his calm nature allowing him to isolate the faint, wet slap-slap sound approaching them through the trees. That's not natural, Xavier Cush Force grunted, flexing his arms instinctively. He might be demorphed, but the physical strength inherent to the Cush strain was still very much present. Jasmine Skunk Bloom pulled a small, wicked-looking folding knife from her pocket, the only physical weapon she had. Something's coming, and it's trying to flank us. Smells like old, moldy hemp. And corruption. 108. Suddenly, the trees parted, and they were swarmed. Not by humans, but by roughly a dozen ganja putties, man-sized figures made of dense, putty-like, sickly green cannabis fiber. They moved with a doughy, erratic malice, their surfaces glistening with potent, corrupting resin. Ganja putties. But they're absorbing the humidity. Maya cried, dodging a sticky swipe. Caleb lashed out, his practiced sativa-driven speed letting him land a clean, focused punch on the nearest putty. The impact was swallowed completely, the putty merely wobbling before snapping back like rubber. 109. Physical force is useless, Xavier roared, trying to hold two putties at bay. His incredible strength allowed him to keep them off balance, but every time they touched his skin, the resin instantly gripped, making it harder to move. They're too sticky, and they're trying to separate us. Finn, surrounded by three putties, closed his eyes, focusing his indica flow inward to remain calm amidst the chaos. He didn't fight back. He simply moved with minimal energy, allowing the putties' momentum to carry them past him, sticking only to the thick, humidity-soaked leaves around him. 110. Jasmine, using the agility and stealth of the skunk strain, darted through the fight. Her goal wasn't to strike, but to coordinate. They hate movement, Finn's barely moving, and they're focused on Xavier's strength. Maya, observing the patterns with her hybrid haze mind, spotted a detail. Their stickiness is their weakness. They absorb kinetic energy, but they're hydrophobic. The deeper they sink into the mud, the faster they lose structure. We can't rely on the mud, it's too thick, Caleb snapped, ducking under a wildly flailing putty arm. We need something dry to destabilize the resin. Finn, use your sensory power to find the driest spot. 111. Finn opened his eyes, his calm gaze cutting through the sensory noise. He pointed a steady finger toward a massive, ancient kapok tree nearby, whose bark was famously porous and dry. There. The bark is desiccated. It will draw the moisture and stickiness out of them. Caleb nodded. Xavier, draw them. Jasmine, lead them there. Maya, find something to scrape the bark loose. Xavier, using a sudden burst of Kush force, picked up a thick, rotting log and slammed it into the ground, drawing the attention of all the putties with the sheer display of power. 112. Jasmine became a blur, leading a train of putties toward the kapok tree. She used her Pullen knife to slash thin, low-hanging vines, tripping the doughy monsters so they would pile up at the base of the massive trunk. Maya, meanwhile, found a large, flat slab of slate rock and used her hybrid haze focus to rapidly chip away at the kapok tree's dry, brittle bark. Within seconds, she had a pile of moisture-absorbing, flaky bark chips. 113. Now, Xavier, Caleb shouted. Xavier, relying on his raw strength, grabbed huge handfuls of the dry kapok bark and hurled them like biological shrapnel at the oncoming putties. The instant the dry bark hit the resin, the putties' surfaces cracked and lost cohesion. They became brittle and dusty. Caleb, seizing the moment, slammed his foot down and channeled pure sativa-focused energy through his leg. The focused vibration shattered the now brittle, bark-covered ganja putties into harmless piles of dry, fragrant dust. 114. The dust settled, and the rangers were exhausted but victorious. They gathered their strength, leaning against the kapok tree. We did it, Finn sighed, relieved. No Zords, just pure strain power and teamwork. Jasmine, inspecting the pulverized remains of one of the ganja putties, found a tiny, crystalline shard embedded within its dust. It wasn't organic, it was an advanced piece of tech, a miniature sensor. They weren't just attacks, they were scouting probes. We'd repel a knows we're here. 115. Caleb looked at the crystalline shard and then at his map. They were close to the first major obstacle, the River of Decay. He turned toward the faint sound of rushing water, only to be hit by a powerful, stomach-churning stench. The river was visible through the trees, and it wasn't water. It was a thick, black, noxious slurry, choked with rotting, unnatural moss, and the stench was overpowering. Trees lining the bank were covered in a sickly, gray fungus, the dread growth. This is worse than the smog factory, Maya whispered, clutching her nose. The dread growth is rampant. That river is the only way in, and it's completely corrupted. Our next challenge is crossing the River of Decay without our Zords to protect us. 116. Caleb, Red Ranger, grabbed the rough, splintered log raft they had hastily assembled from fallen branches and shoved it onto the sickly, black surface of the River of Decay. The noxious liquid hissed, and before the wood was fully supported by the water, it began to smoke. Maya, Hybrid Haze, watched in horror as the wood rapidly disintegrated. It's too acidic. The decay agent is active and instantly consumes all organic material that isn't already stabilized. The raft dissolved into black sludge and dust within seconds, leaving no trace. Their primary path was gone. 117. We have to go high, Jasmine Skunk Bloom declared, already scanning the infested canopy. The dread growth spreads through the roots and the water. We climb and go across the treetops. Using their unmorphed but amplified strength and agility, the 5 rangers began to ascend the fungus-choked trees. Caleb, driven by sativa surge focus, led the climb, while Xavier Cush Force provided support, pushing his lighter teammates up. 118. They moved slowly, carefully avoiding direct contact with the gray, fuzzy fungus that pulsed with corrupting energy. But the air itself was tainted. Within minutes, Finn Indica Flow started to stumble. I can't concentrate, Finn muttered, clutching his head. The air was filled with low-frequency sonic waves of decay that played havoc with his ability to channel calm energy. Then, Xavier began to dry heave. It's attacking our physical resilience. Feels like rot, he gasped. The constant strain on his Cush Force energy to resist the airborne spores was rapidly draining him. 119. Jasmine checked her team. We're inhaling it. The spores are attacking our lungs and nervous system. If we continue, we'll lose consciousness and fall into the river. We have to turn back. Caleb, reluctantly agreeing, signaled the retreat. They scrambled down the infested trunks, landing heavily on the ground, coughing and weak. They had failed to cross the river and were no closer to the source strain. 120. Whedon, we're stuck, Caleb said, his voice raspy into the calm. The river's too corrupt, the canopy is poisoned. We're running out of time. Whedon's voice was faint but hopeful. The oracle spore coordinates show an ancient, protective pocket of reality nearby. A legend. The forest of Refer. It's the only place the dread growth cannot penetrate. A forest of what? Xavier questioned, recovering his breath. 121. It's a place of pure, uncorrupted growth, Whedon explained. The legendary guardians who created the secret strain scroll concealed it there. The entrance is hidden behind a waterfall, but only one of you can find the way. Jasmine took a deep, steadying breath. Stealth, scent, essence. That has to be me. The skunk bloom strain is about essence. I'll search for any trace of pure, untainted energy. 122. Jasmine channeled the sweet, pungent, clarifying energy of her skunk bloom coin. She knelt and focused, ignoring the overwhelming stench of the decay river. She filtered the air, searching for a scent that was real, vibrant, and alive, the opposite of the death all around them. In a dense thicket of aggressive, thorn-ridden brush, she caught it. A single, faint, high-pitched scent of pure, blooming myrcene and limonene. It was intoxicatingly clean. Found it, she cried, rushing toward the thicket. Using her agile strength, she tore through the thorns, revealing a small, hidden cave entrance concealed behind a cascade of natural, clean rainwater. 123. The air inside the cave was instantly cool and clean. They scrambled in, closing the entrance behind them, cutting off the stench of the decay river. The cave opened into a narrow, winding tunnel, illuminated by glowing, fungal moss. They emerged from the tunnel into a sight that took their breath away, the forest of Refer. It was a grove of gigantic, towering plants, their stalks like pillars, their leaves larger than cars, all perfectly healthy and shimmering with trichomes that caught the ambient light. The colors were hyper-saturated, the air thick with potent, sweet aromas. 124. This is incredible, Maya whispered, taking sensor readings. 0 decay, 0 toxic spores. The ecosystem is in perfect, stable balance. This grove is generating its own protective, pure atmosphere. It's like a natural sanctuary, Finn observed, his composure instantly returning. He felt the protective calm of the ancient indica energy in the air. Caleb looked ahead. The forest floor was covered in a pristine, spongy layer of pine needles. In the distance, through the towering stalks, he could see a small, elevated temple made of tightly woven, petrified fiber. 125. As they advanced, a shadow fell over them. The protective silence of the forest was broken by a rough, guttural voice. You trespass on the sacred grove. From behind one of the colossal stalks stepped a figure unlike any they had seen. It was a man, but his entire body was covered in thick, ropey, brown fibers, his eyes glowing with an ancient, vegetative light. He wore armor made of solidified bark and carried a staff that crackled with stored energy. This was the Forest Guardian. "We seek the source strain," Caleb declared, holding up his chronic coin. The Guardian raised his staff. "To pass, you must prove your worth. You must face the Weed Ranger trial of purity, and only one of you may proceed." 126. The Forest Guardian's voice boomed, echoing the ancient energy of the grove. "The trial of purity has 3 stages: the climb, physical strength; the calm, mental focus; and the core, moral sacrifice. Only the one deemed most worthy will pass to the source strain." Caleb stepped forward, ready to argue, but Maya put a hand on his shoulder. "No, this is about the integrity of the team, not individual power. We have to beat this together, even if only one crosses the finish line." 127. The Guardian struck his staff on the ground. Immediately, a colossal, slick stalk of pure indica fiber, as tall as a skyscraper, shot up from the forest floor. It was covered in thick, sticky resin that made climbing nearly impossible. "The climb begins," the Guardian declared. "Reach the top, but be warned. This resin drains your natural life force." Xavier Cush Force knew this was his challenge. He immediately channeled his brute strength, but instead of trying to punch the stalk, he focused his power into small bursts of kinetic energy on his hands and feet, burning away the stickiness just enough to gain a grip. 128. As Xavier climbed, the resin released powerful hallucinogenic spores that tried to distract him. Caleb, Sativa Surge, and Finn, Indica Flow, worked below, guiding him. "Xavier, don't look down," Caleb shouted, his Sativa Surge maintaining laser focus on the tiny handholds. "Keep your mind on the goal, the source strain." Finn used his Indica Flow to project a field of calm energy upward, buffering Xavier's mind from the worst of the spores, allowing the Cush Force to focus solely on the ascent. Xavier fought through the hallucinations and reached the top, planting a banner of the Ranger's symbol before rappelling back down. 129. The Guardian nodded slightly. "Impressive teamwork. Now, the calm." A curtain of pure, distilled noise slammed into the Rangers. It was a cacophony of fear, doubt, and the recorded screams of the dread growth as it consumed its victims. This stage was designed to shatter mental fortitude. "My turn," Finn stated, his face serene. He sat cross-legged, closing his eyes, and channeled the ultimate power of Indica Flow. He didn't block the sound. He absorbed it, turning the chaotic waves into low, rhythmic vibrations that grounded his friends. 130. Maya, Hybrid Haze, and Jasmine, Skunk Bloom, joined Finn, using their focus to help him maintain the shield of calm. Maya focused on converting the chaos into analyzable data, turning the terrifying noise into neutral white noise. Jasmine projected sharp, clarifying Skunk Bloom essence outward, cutting through the fear and doubt like a purifying scent. Finn maintained the calm for nearly 5 agonizing minutes until the Guardian, impressed by the shared mental defense, lowered the wall of noise. The Rangers were breathing heavily, but their minds were intact. 131. "You passed where many have failed," the Guardian acknowledged. "But the final trial is the most difficult. The core, a test of moral sacrifice." A blinding light erupted from the Guardian's staff, projecting a horrifying illusion. The Rangers saw an impossible choice: 2 paths, identical except for the inscription above them. Path A: the source strain and infinite power. Path B: save the Chronic's Nexus and lose the prize. 132. The illusion showed that if they chose Path A, they would gain the source strain, but Wheater Repella would immediately gain the ability to corrupt the defenseless Chronic's Nexus, trapping Whedon and Boldar's pacification bud forever. Path B meant sacrificing the immediate prize to save their master and their base. "It's a trap," Caleb yelled, ready to charge down Path A. "We need the power to fight." "No, Caleb, look at the moral core of the problem," Maya shouted. "The source strain is useless if we have no one to guide us, and no base to return to." 133. The group argued fiercely, torn between the mission's objective, the strain, and their emotional connection, Whedon. Xavier and Jasmine both urged them toward Path B, arguing that the true power of a Ranger was protecting the innocent. Finn, calm as always, pointed out the logical flaw. The trial is called purity. Purity means selfless action. Choosing the personal prize over the safety of the whole is corruption. 134. Caleb, watching the faces of his friends, finally let go of his leader's need to win and chose their family. Finn's right. The mission is to protect the world, not just gain power. We choose path B, save the Nexus. The moment Caleb and his team collectively stepped toward path B, the illusion shattered. The light faded, and the Guardian lowered his staff. You have passed the test, the Guardian said, his voice softer now. You chose the purity of the cause over the reward of power. The trial of purity is complete. You are worthy. 135. The massive, ancient tree that served as the forest guardian's home parted its massive roots, revealing a hidden, sacred pool of perfectly clean, shimmering water. In the center of the pool, pulsing with gentle, clear light, was a single, tiny, perfectly formed seed, the source strain. The source strain is yours. It cannot be corrupted by Weta Repella's decay, but she will sense its emergence, the Guardian warned. Once you possess it, you must leave the grove immediately. A path has been opened, but you must hurry. 136. Caleb, Red Ranger, approached the pool, his heart pounding. The tiny source strain seed pulsed with pure, uncorrupted life force, a clean, vibrant energy that sang against the decay of the world outside. What do we do with it, Master Hempy? He asked, holding his chronic coin over the seed. Whedon's voice was firm. It is the source of all chronics, the origin. It cannot be stored conventionally. You must absorb its essence into your chronic coins to stabilize it for transport. It will grant you one burst of full morphing power. 137. One by one, the Rangers placed their unique chronic coins near the source strain. The seed pulsed, releasing a mist of pure, cannabinoid energy that flowed directly into the 5 coins, saturating them with power they hadn't felt since their very first morph. The coins glowed with blinding intensity. Quickly, young ones, the Forest Guardian urged. Her influence is here. The Guardian raised his staff and slammed it into the forest floor. The ground groaned, and the towering, fibrous roots of the Guardian's own ancient tree began to move. 138. The massive roots wove and wrapped themselves, twisting upward like a living crane until they formed a colossal, brown and green beast, the Phytozord, an organic, temporary Zord designed for escape. It had a sleek, canoe-like body carved from bark and huge, leafy wings that generated pure, clean air currents. This Zord is powered by the grove's protective energy, the Guardian explained. It will fly you safely over the river of decay and take you halfway back to Ganja Grove before its energy depletes. Go, and protect that which is pure. 139. The Rangers scrambled aboard the Phytozord. Caleb, at the bark-carved controls, placed his supercharged chronic coin into a slot. The Zord roared to life with a sound like ancient wood expanding, and its large, fibrous wings beat the air, creating a powerful draft of clean, life-giving oxygen. Everyone, one last time, we need the speed, Caleb shouted, seeing the first signs of corrupted foliage twitching violently in the surrounding jungle. It's marijuana time. 140. The supercharged morph was blinding. They reappeared instantly in their full armor, the colors more intense, the energy radiating from their shields palpable. The Phytozord, now piloted by the combined power of the Rangers, shot straight up through the canopy and out over the Amazon. Below them, the river of decay looked even more menacing, but the Phytozord's pure air current pushed back the toxic spores. They had made it, but the chase was not over. 141. Suddenly, a wave of dark, corrupted energy surged up from the jungle floor. Weta Repella's laughter echoed from the clouds above. Did you think you could steal the seed and escape so easily, you pathetic weeds? From the jungle below, a massive, mutated, fungal creature emerged. It was the Dread Mold Tyrant, a spore-spewing monster covered in tough, rubbery, purple moss and fueled by the dread growth. 142. The Dread Mold Tyrant launched a barrage of corrosive decay spores at the Phytozord. Caleb executed a sharp barrel roll, dodging the first wave. We need to slow it down. Finn, can you use the indica flow to root it, even from the air? Caleb asked. Finn, Blue Ranger, channeling his enhanced power, projected a concentrated, calming field down toward the monster. The indica energy settled on the moss, briefly slowing its frantic movement, but the effect was weak against the massive beast. 143. It's too big, Finn's power is diluted. Maya, Yellow Ranger, radioed. We need physical damage that targets its root structure. Jasmine, you're the stealth expert, target its weak point. Jasmine, Pink Ranger, identified the monster's core, a pulsating, centralized mass of moss where the corruption seemed strongest. She launched a volley of bloom bow arrows that were now glowing with enhanced skunk bloom essence. 144. The arrows struck the pulsating core, causing the monster to roar in pain, but the damage was minimal. It needs more force. The Phytozord is the only one strong enough. Xavier, Black Ranger, yelled. We can't get close, the spores will decay the Zord's organic shell. Caleb retorted. We need to hit it hard from a distance. Maya, use the hybrid haze to create a focused energy blast. 145. Maya positioned herself at the front of the Zord, combining her haze blasters into a single focal point. She drew the power from the source strain essence still singing in her coin. The result was a laser of pure, yellow-green energy, the hybrid haze sunlight beam. She fired the beam. It struck the dread mold tyrant right in the core. The concentrated, pure energy was the opposite of the decay, and the tyrant exploded in a silent burst of dusty, gray ash, momentarily clearing the air. The Phytozord sped onward, leaving the danger behind, but the Rangers knew Weeder Repella was already plotting their next interception. 146. The Phytozord, powered by the essence of the source strain, flew with incredible speed, but the energy was already starting to fade. As they broke out of the Amazon basin and flew over the dark expanse of the Atlantic, the sky ahead turned an ominous, violent shade of violet and emerald green. Sensor readings critical. Maya, Yellow Ranger, yelled from the cockpit. Weeder Repella created an electrical storm, a biostatic hurricane. It's infused with her decay energy, designed to fry the Phytozord's organic circuits. 147. Simultaneously, Caleb, Red Ranger, saw a faint, pulsating red light in the clouds ahead. Look, it's a trap. That's a decay beacon. She's broadcasting a signal to draw us into the worst part of the storm. The Phytozord plunged into the hurricane. The organic Zord, despite its purity, shuddered under the force of the wind and the corrosive static. Massive bolts of violet lightning crackled around them. 148. We can't fly through this. Finn, Blue Ranger, shouted, fighting the controls. The indica flow can't stabilize the whole Zord against this much chaotic energy. Then we go under it. Caleb commanded. Maya, reroute all remaining source strain energy to the main bark hull. Xavier, we need a shield. Xavier, Black Ranger, stood ready. As the Zord dove, he channeled every ounce of his Kush force into creating a temporary, dense, black resin shield around the cockpit, protecting them from the immediate impacts. 149. They skimmed just above the massive ocean waves, where the lightning rarely reached, but the water was agitated, infected by the storm's decay energy. The Phytozord's hull groaned under the strain of the high-speed, low-altitude flight. The decay beacon, however, was still ahead, pulling them like a tractor beam into the hurricane's eye. 150. The beacon is drawing all the static electricity. Maya realized. It's a magnet for the decay lightning. If we get near it, the Phytozord will take a direct, Zord-killing hit. We have to overload the beacon, Jasmine, Pink Ranger, said. Fight fire with fire, or clean with decay. I'll launch a skunk bloom arrow, but I need it to carry a pure charge to cause a feedback loop. 151. Finn quickly channeled the stabilizing energy of indica flow into a single arrow from Jasmine's bloom bow. The arrow began to hum with blue light. Jasmine took aim, perfectly compensating for the wind shear created by the massive storm. She released the shot. The blue-streaked arrow sliced through the wind and struck the pulsating red decay beacon. 152. The moment the pure indica flow essence connected with the corrupted technology, the beacon overloaded in a massive, blinding flash of white light. Instead of destroying the Zord, the released energy created a temporary vacuum, momentarily halting the electrical storm and silencing Weeda's tracking signal. It worked. Caleb cheered. Finn and Jasmine, amazing focus. 153. The reprieve was brief. The moment the storm resumed, the Phytozord shuddered violently. The source strain energy was completely depleted. The bark hull began to decay, and the mighty wings started to lose altitude rapidly. The Zord is failing, Maya cried. We're going down in the Atlantic. 154. As the Phytozord began its terminal descent, a voice cut through the comms, clear, commanding, and immensely relieved. Weed Rangers, we see you, hold on. From the distance, cutting through the edge of the storm, came the glorious sight of the combined Chronic Zords, the Chronic Megazord, flying at top speed, piloted by Whedon and a small crew of cultivator assistants who had been waiting for the signal. 155. The Chronic Megazord reached them just as the Phytozord hit the water, breaking into pieces. With a massive, heroic motion, the Chronic Megazord carefully scooped up the 5 unmorphed Rangers and the remnants of the Guardian Zord. They were safe, the source strain secure in their now darkened Chronic coins. The journey home was complete, and Wheater Repella's immediate plan was foiled, but the war was far from over.